So we're going to rather than starting off with some kind of diatribe, we're going to go around, start with you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've got my brother-in-law worked in a factory all his life. He's got
Wait a minute.
Speak louder.
Wait, let's get it on. Question.
Wait, what?
Okay, it's on.
So I have a brother-in-law. He's like in his mid-60s. He's got silicosis. He worked, General Motors factory for 30-some years. And of course, the doctor told him there's no hope. I mean, you can't get any better. He's just going to keep getting worse. And what can he do?
Okay. His brother-in-law worked in a factory and got glass shavings all in his lungs and throughout the body. Of course, it goes into the lungs, it goes through the beds, in the lungs, in the sinuses. It's called silicosis, and it's a ridiculous name for it. It's just called glass, because it's not just silicone. So, and there's no real way to dissolve them. The body can't dissolve it, because when they make glass, they take sand and they heat it at such a high temperature, about 1600 degrees, to get it to turn it into glass. And there's no way to melt it down. So the only thing he can do is force himself to have flus and colds, have lots of milkshakes, so he'll bring it up with mucus. And usually the mucus from that kind of detoxification, it comes out pretty gray. There's sometimes red, they'll be bleeding, stuff like that. But the best thing he can do is cause himself lots of colds and flus and bring it up with mucus. Only way you're going to believe it. And eating lots of foods. In my We Want to Live book, they get rid of scarring. So look under scarring and those like the papaya and olive oil and things that break down scar tissue.
Great.
And you should eat those with coconut cream. Okay. Coconut cream, anytime you want to have something, fruit is always a cleanser. Always a cleanser. It doesn't do anything else but cleanse. It either cleanses by turning acids into alkaline or neutralizing acidic compounds into a neutral substance, or it causes tremendous alcohol to break substances down to remove them from the body. Coconut cream is a good, has many properties. It has a lot of water-soluble fats, not just oil-soluble fats. Coconut cream is 80% fat, but only 7 to 8% is oil, which is oil-soluble fat. The rest of that fat, which is 72%, is water-soluble fats that are rare to get in anything, except for animal fats, especially chicken and fish. So coconut is the only place you can get that in the fruit world. So that is the fruit to eat, so it can get into the nerves, it can get into any part of the body and protect it as you're detoxifying with the alcohols. It also makes a good solvent along with the alcohol, clean out the body. Now I always say, have a little animal fat with it, so you're protecting your nerve cells a little bit better. Okay?
How do you cause yourself colds and flus? How do you do that?
By eating lots of milkshakes.
Okay.
And smoothies, orange in it, any kind of fruit. Have more smoothies than milkshakes. Once you get into the cold or flu, then you only have one smoothie a day and 1 or 2 milkshakes. But to onset a flu or a cold, you can have only smoothies, 3 smoothies a day if you want to force one.
You mentioned olive oil. Is that better than flax oil?
Flax is very acidic. I only recommend it for flax oil for people with cancer.
I see. So
I'd say people don't eat flax.
What? Olive oil is better than flax oil?
Well, any oil will help break down scar tissue because it's 90% cleansing. When you have an animal fat, they're anywhere from 40 to 60% nutrifying and cleansing and stabilizing, and only partially detoxifying. Any pressed oil even if it's coconut oil, not coconut cream, is 90% detoxifying. And you can cause yourself to go into too much detoxification and cause yourself all kinds of symptoms of that detoxification. They won't be controlled. You know, your body's going to go into fatigue. Your body's going to have to spend its nutrients and energy on remedial effects of the detoxifications. So it's always better to no more than a tablespoon of oil a day for detoxification. If you're already heavy into detoxification, don't get near oil. Stay away from oil. Okay? Pardon?
Olive oil?
Olive oil, same. Do you have a question?
Yes. Some years ago, 2 years, perhaps 1 year ago, I began having. I am quite a good walker. I walk. And then all of a sudden, somebody began telling me that my
Your ankle.
yes, the ankles began swelling, and then I had difficulty walking. I was a very good walker on the track, so my fingers worked very much on the track.
Right.
But so I don't know what to do.
Well, I wouldn't know without looking into your eyes. I couldn't tell what's storing in your legs. But most people will store a lot of lactic acids as they get older. They have less and less ability because they're not eating good food. They don't have much nutrients in them at all if they're cooked, especially if they're processed. So as it starts accumulating, lactic acids, the byproduct metabolism start accumulating, it causes blockages in circulation, and then the body has to swell to expand. The veins, the arteries, everything will have to swell to expand to accommodate that. And people will have very large swellings because of that. And to relieve it, you have to eat things like coconut cream with pineapple, coconut cream with banana. It's the best way. Those are the best. Or whey with some kind of fat. Also coconut cream or dairy cream isn't very good for that because dairy cream causes a lot of swelling. Not in a bad way. It's good for the nerves, but it can cause too much at one time. So you have a little bit of that, but a lot of butter.
So you're saying that a lot of butter is good for that?
A lot of butter is good for that. Yeah. Cream, small amounts. Do you have a question?
Yes, I had asthma as a child, and
you didn't like it?
and I smoked for 35 years. Then I stopped about 20 years ago, but my lungs have not repaired themselves. How do I repair my lungs? I still have trouble sometimes walking across the floor.
Okay, now you had asthma. It was either from a vaccine or you were a swimmer.
No, I had polio.
Okay, so you had treatment for polio, which caused your asthma.
No, I didn't.
No?
I had polio when I was 5. I had no symptoms, except
Everybody has polio.
Everybody.
Everybody has the poliomyelitis in their system.
Why is that?
Poliomyelitis is a virus, which means you have a chemical way of detoxifying the nervous system. See, polio became really big in the 50s. Why?
yeah, that's when I was
Canned food.
5.
All of the metals in the food poisoned the nervous system, the spinal cord. So people were getting all kinds, because in 45 is when canned foods really became big as soon as the war ended. And it was my understanding from the elitists who run the world, especially the King and Queen of England, who own 70% of all the food production in the world. They pushed every country into World War II so that they could initiate canned foods. That was the whole purpose of them creating World War II. And canned foods. Canned foods came out and became a big thing because it was a good thing to eat the same thing that your soldiers were eating. eat canned food.
Wow.
That was the whole issue. Stupidity. But people bought it. So everybody was eating canned foods. My mother loved it because all she had to do was open a can and throw it in. She didn't have to cut up the vegetables. She didn't have to do anything. So she loved it. So we lived on that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why polio was really big in the 50s.
I had it in 49.
Yeah, so you only took you 2 years to get it. But a lot of people had it with no symptoms. Other people had it with terrible symptoms.
I had symptoms later.
Yeah.
I developed arthritis and asthma, headaches.
Yeah. But that doesn't come
So
from
you get it
that
because
doesn't come from polio.
Oh,
That's
shit.
a myth.
Oh,
That's a myth.
okay.
That's still from extended. When your nervous system has had enough, guess where it goes next? To your lungs and your sinuses. The metal poisoning. That's why they had all of that tonsillitis. What also happened? Polio and tonsillitis. The tonsils protect the brain. They keep chemicals from getting into the brain, including metals from canned food, processed food. So what happens? They were overloaded all of a sudden. Now we had pesticides, inorganic fertilizers, and canned and processed foods with lots of preservatives, metallic metals in the preservatives. So then also we were all inundated with it, and still today. People have tonsillitis, children have tonsillitis all the time because of all of that. So you came from, and it could have been from vaccines too, that was the final onslaught of your emphysema or your asthma. So, but because of your smoking, it's going to be very difficult to reverse it. Because when you smoke, you're cooking vegetable oils at 700 to 1250 degrees. So it makes them a hard tar. So they crystallize in the body. If you've ever seen an autopsy of a smoker, unless they are an alcoholic along with it, they will have crystals all over. If you're an alcoholic, the alcohol breaks down those fats while they first come into the body, and your alcoholics don't have that kind of a problem. That doesn't mean if you're a smoker become an alcoholic. Just don't smoke. But they're very hard crystals. Vegetable oil in the human body crystallizes anyway because an herbivore has a body temperature of 101 to 105 degrees. They keep vegetable oils solvent at that temperature. In the human body at 98.6, vegetable oils will harden if they've been made part of the body in an intercellular fat, something like that. It will cause hardening. So to get that to melt down, you have to take hot baths, 102, 105, 110 degrees every day for a long time to get rid of them. You could sleep with hot water bottles, about 2 of them under your armpits, and tint your chest over with a silk blanket, and it allows for good perspiration exiting. Usually cotton will hold on to it, you'll be really wet. Silk allows the perspiration to breathe and let go. So you'll be heating that up, and you need to cook those lungs at only 105 degrees, to start melting to get it out of there. And also you can take green tobacco. You have to find a farmer. Got some Amish farmers who grow tobacco. So my patients who've been smokers will get the green tobacco, juice it, ferment the juice, and then take a drop or 2 or 3 a day to help break it down. Because the alcohol from that tar will react on the tar that's already hardened in the system.
My goodness.
Okay. So
You can't find that around here, can you?
no, I have a source. You just have to get the product list, and in the back it tells you how to make it. On the last page, the 9th page of the product list.
Okay.
I have it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. You have a question?
I have a chemtrail.
Oh, wait a minute, no redheads.
First person that came. Good Diane. Good Diane.
I have a chemtrail question.
Uh-huh.
Where does that stuff hit the ground when you see?
It all
I presume
depends.
these are real clouds today. The sky's blue, but when you see all those chemtrails, does
It's
it come down the
falling.
same
It's falling
day?
constantly.
Really?
Falling. If we had more humidity, it would stay suspended longer. but we don't have a lot of humidity here, so it's constantly raining, constantly.
So
And they
it's not
spray
like-
it. They start spraying it over in Oxnard and over me in Malibu, so I can't even go outside because it's right above me.
So it's not like it's okay on a day like today, but when you see them, you go in the house and turn on your HEPA filters, or
Yep, absolutely.
yeah.
Do you love factory?
Yeah, I've got that in the. I won't answer that question because I go into it in my newsletters.
And what?
What to do about chemtrail for because it's a little involved. So I wrote it in one of the newsletters last year or 2 years ago.
What do you get to?
You subscribe online,
Yeah,
and it's only
talk to
like
Jim.
$85 a year, and whoever joins gets all the back issues to 2006.
And they're great.
So,
They're great.
yeah.
So it's not like one day it would be better to be out than another day. It's just all the time falling. I mean,
All the time falling. If you're in, a place where there's high humidity, like in Long Beach right now, or in Santa Monica, in Venice area, you've got the fog that comes in. It will stay high. As soon as the fog's gone, it starts raining.
But what about a day when it's totally clear and there's no chemtrails in the air? You don't see any. Is it still falling?
There's nothing there.
Huh?
There's nothing there. If there's no chemtrails, it's not falling.
Oh, okay, so then it's not
that's
falling.
what I was saying. Yeah. Is there like the day that you see the big chemtrails, or the day after?
It always falls on that day unless there's a heavy rain
Okay.
before,
Yeah.
and there's lots of moisture in the
Okay,
air.
that was my question. Is it
It could
safer
hang out
some
for-
days than others?
It
Yeah.
won't hang up for more than 24 hours. That's why I spray every day.
Oh, really? They spray every day?
Yeah, spray every day.
Wow.
They did. They used to when Bush was in office. Now that Obama's in office, they do it about half as much as they used to.
Yeah, it's way less now.
I have thought.
But it's not because Obama's in office. It's because a lot of people are starting to complain.
See,
They're
coming out.
constantly
Yeah,
bombarded. Yes.
I've been
Good
sure
job.
coming
Kathy,
out.
with great help for
Thank
that.
you.
Great
I
help
just
for
say
that.
this one guy is going to come. He's going to speak on our Morgellons. It's June 19th on a Saturday at 2 p.m. If any of you want to come and hear his story, how it began, how he's contacted, and what he's doing about it, and how he feels about the whole situation, and what he's doing to combat whatever. Cornicon.com has a good website. What Morgellons looks like. They have these fibers. It just keeps coming out of your skin. It crawls.
Well, they put all kinds of stuff in there. I've even analyzed the dropping because I'm so close to the sky. And I put a piece of paper down on a platform on my back porch to see what was falling. And there were fibers. There were the finite, it takes a high electronic microscope. My microscope broke now, so I don't have it. But it's so expensive to fix. It showed eggs, parasite and insect eggs in it. In this material, it's actually wet and put on sticky on this stuff you breathe and inhale. So then they've got insects breeding in your body, in your lungs, in your sinuses. So these people are having insects that are coming through the skin attached to these fibers.
Yeah.
And that's what Morgellons is. Some people say Morgellons, tomato.
Yeah.
I like Morgellons.
I didn't say
for some
that.
reason.
Yeah.
So, also, we're doing our air testing. As I back, if you look, we're going to have.
Well, they've got barium in it, they've got aluminum, they've got all kinds of things. Fluoride is the latest thing they found pretty heavy in it.
And then want to put.
And you have to look at it. What does aluminum do? Aluminum destroys the zeta potential, which is the ability for nutrients to remain suspended in fluid. So it's like you put liquid aluminum in a fish tank, and what happens to the fish? Hit the bottom. They can no longer swim. And that's what happens in the brain and the nervous system. That's why Alzheimer's is elevated highly when there's lots of aluminum in the brain. Then you have fluoride. And what does fluoride do? Hitler used fluoride, or Hitler's scientists used fluoride to make animals docile. They could give it to cobras, and they could give it to very aggressive rats that they would corner, and it would turn them into docile little animals. They would not, and you could bite them, you have another animal that's ferocious in there, eat them to pieces, and they wouldn't fight back.
Wow.
So that's what they were feeding to all of their prisoners in Auschwitz and everywhere. Fluoride. That's why they want it in every household, in everybody's water system on the planet. And it's the NSA, the federal government, which is pushing it heavily, enforcing these cities, saying, we're not going to give you our federal benefits unless you put the fluoride in the water. And of course, your politicians want money coming in, so they go say, okay, we'll poison everybody, we'll put fluoride in the water so we can have more money. And that's the whole game of politics. So that's what they're bombarding. And in in one of my newsletters, I talk about what to eat to help relieve it, to help protect you from the damages of it. And as far as the fibers, it's not easy to get rid of.
There is no way to attack those who began that.
You got the military, and the military is the most ferocious, hungry beast in the world. Even Eisenhower, I was only like 10 years old when he said it, when he left office. And he said in his departing speech, he said, our greatest enemy is the military-industrial complex, because they don't make money unless there's war. This president, who was a 5-star general of the military, became president, said this. Because as he was in president, he couldn't stop. He knew what caused war. He knew that we didn't need it, and he couldn't stop it because of the industrial complex. So they want the money.
Does your car air conditioner keep it out of your car when you drive a lot?
It does if you have a HEPA filter inside. Most cars are equipped with a filter, or you can order them with a filter. And you can change over the filter about every 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. My Prius has it. I made sure that it had it when I bought it. It was an option when I bought mine. I don't think it's an option now. I think it's almost in every car. Except for your really cheap
In the
cars.
air conditioner.
Pardon?
You have the filter in the air conditioner?
No, it's any kind of air circulation system.
Oh.
Well, what I want to add to this, please, because we're going to be doing our air testing as soon as Luke. We're going to be doing 4 different districts: Montebello, Tahunga. He's in Tahunga. I'm on the west side, and then there's Long Beach, San Pedro, which CJ said should be doing for a friend. And then once we get the one month of air running that filter outside, then we're going to gather the test and take it to a lab, and then we have to write Aajonus recommended a 12-page executive summary to be sent to we're going to send it down to the LA County Board of Supervisors to be put on their agenda, because we want to be heard down there. And this is what we're going to have.
If there's a big enough cry, if we got, let's say, there are, 13 million people in Los Angeles County now, if we can get, 10% of that would be great, even just 1 million people, to protest. The Board of Supervisors would have no choice but tell the military, you can no longer dump in our region.
See? It takes people, and you got to get out there, and that's what we're doing. The Los Angeles Chemtrails Meetup.com. We're going to meet on Thursday next week, our protest, in which we're going to hand out tabling on this ground. We're handing out information, and that's what it is all about, is getting the word out and let those people get more word out. It's going to have to be a routine, grassroots, they told me.
Yep.
So going to lead our revolution.
Pardon?
Kathy's going to lead our revolution.
I'll be in the front line. I don't say, my life is already,
The milk and she spearheads the
yeah, chemtrails.
Okay, we need to carry on. Do you have a question?
That's all. I just got your book 2 days ago.
Okay.
And the fact that you can have all this butter and coconut cream, which I've been on, and everybody's saying to me, here, you're going to get fat on this coconut cream, and I just loved it. It's fascinating because 2 days I started on this fat, and I have a familiar trembling. There are 15 children in my family, and we all tremble a little bit.
Yeah.
And it stopped.
Yeah, it stopped very quickly usually. Yeah.
It stopped, and I wasn't feeling trembling all over, and the fact that you can eat all this butter,
Isn't that
I
great?
love so much.
Tasty.
I love it.
Great.
But I don't know proportions yet. I have to get your second book.
The second book, yeah, it's on
To
page
know
41.
how I don't,
Yeah.
because I haven't had meat in over a year.
Page 40 and 41 is the recipe book.
In this book, the first
The
one.
recipe book.
The recipe book,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I have to balance out.
Yeah.
But I love this idea of creams and butter.
It's wonderful, tasty.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I lived in France most so we had steak tartare, which is raw meat.
Good.
So,
And raw egg.
yeah. So, that's very
Good for you. Okay, do you have a
I
question?
couldn't hear what she said about the trembling.
Oh, she had trembling, and she has 15 brothers and sisters, and they almost all have trembling. And just 2 days eating the coconut cream and the butter stopped her trembles.
Is that the essential tremors?
Pardon?
Is that essential tremors? It's called familial trembling. What? Familial trembling.
Familial means family oriented. Genetic, it's not genetic. It's just bad diet.
But, you know, I had a very good, I never had canned food growing up. My parents had chlamydia.
Oh.
And we had wonderful food. My father had an acre and he grew his own, and they were maniacs.
And he didn't use pesticides?
So, no.
But how does it come from?
Then it probably was you all had a system that reacted to the vaccine toxicity.
Probably. But he would fight the system, and they thought he was mad, you know. So many times he came to school and said, my children do this and this and this. And he was known to be, you know, against the system.
Unusual.
Yes. He ate wonderful food. We
Yeah.
had raw honey because he had bees and
Then you shouldn't have had something like that.
But there had to be a chemical reason.
yeah.
You know, usually
Maybe the vaccine-
mercury causes
the
that kind of
vaccines,
damage.
I think.
Yeah, vaccine.
And growing up.
Usually when mercury binds with, usually they don't couple together, the formaldehyde and mercury, but in some people it does. And people who causes trembles, people who have St. Vitus disease, any kind of trembling, tremors, is all usually combination of some industrial solvent and mercury. Could be fluoride, formaldehyde, even chlorine can do it. Do you have a question?
Yes. Actually, I have two, so I'm going to have to choose it. If you have any kind of inflammation in your body, does that mean you can't have any kind of dairy cream?
I don't know who told you that.
I thought you said that a little bit earlier.
No, I said small amounts of cream.
You can have small amounts of dairy cream.
Small amounts of dairy cream.
Yeah.
They're mostly butter. But if you've got a neurological problem, you have to have more cream.
Yeah.
Cream's more important.
Yeah.
Only cream will fully nutrify the nervous system. Butter will not. Butter will take care of maybe 80% of the fat needed in the brain and nervous system. Only cream will give you 100% of the fats that are necessary in the brain and nervous system. But it only takes a small amount. 2 tablespoons, other than what you're having in milk a day, is all that's necessary, unless you have a neurological disorder. If you have polio, you'll probably need 2 ounces a day, 4 tablespoons, plus milk.
So that will also help the tremors then, because
Yes. Yeah. Like for her, the coconut cream will do it for a while, but then it won't work. You know, then it'll take the raw cream to do it.
if I could find it in New York.
Well, in Bergenfield, there's a co-op there in Bergenfield, and it's at the Blue Dragon Martial Arts Center. So you call them, tell them that Aajonus told you to call, and there's a club there that gets food every 2 weeks.
That's the fact.
No, right across the George Washington Bridge in Bergenfield. Bergenfield, New Jersey, yeah. There are some other clubs in New York City, but I'm not familiar with them.
Blue Dragon what?
Blue Dragon Martial Arts Academy.
Aajonus, why do you think there's a thyroid epidemic in this country?
There's no such thing as a thyroid epidemic.
everybody has a thyroid problem.
That's what the pharmaceutical industry wants you to believe. Also, like they tell you that thyroid has to do with you losing hair. Do you know how many people lose hair because they don't have the active thyroid? Very few. But they knew that men and women are so vain that all you have to do is tell them that the thyroid problem will cause them to lose hair, and who's going to take thyroxine? Everybody is going to take it because they don't want to lose hair. It's got nothing to do with hair loss. Endocrine gland system is an emergency-only system. It's for emergency purposes. If you're attacked, adrenaline runs, and you can run or you can fight or flight. Only time adrenaline should be used. If you fall out of a tree when you're swinging around like a monkey in a tree and hit the ground and lost your wind and you're stopped breathing and your heart stopped, what kicks in? What gland do we have that's multiplied by 6? The thyroid. You've got 2 thyroid glands and 4 parathyroid glands. What is so important in the body that you have to have a backup for the backup for the backup for the backup for the backup? The lungs and the heart. That's what controls it. The thyroid. It has nothing to do with hair. Doesn't have to do with acne. Doesn't have to do with adrenaline flow. This is what the pharmaceutical, they put all this nonsense in your head so that you'll be taking all these chemicals. And people do. They'll go to a doctor, they'll go to a pharmacy, they'll get all these things because they're advertised like that. And people aren't educated to understand. The thymus, right here, is for protect your digestive tract. So you have all of these glands which are for emergency purposes only. Now everybody who's eating cooked foods in a polluted environment is in an emergency circumstance. They need tons of fat to deal with the poison. So what is mainly hormones made of? 60 to 70% fat, sometimes 80% fat. So you create all these hormones to deal with the toxicity because you're in an emergency circumstance. But that's not what it was intended for. If you're on a good diet like me, you should have no thyroxine, you should have no adrenaline in your body, you shouldn't have anything unless it's necessary. The fats that you eat should make the proper energy. 100 years ago, 200, 500 years ago, you had people doing heavy farm work without good equipment. All the fancy equipment we have now. And they worked hard in the fields. You can't get anybody to mow their lawn with a push mower anymore. They'll die from just pushing a push mower over grass. And I remember when I was a kid, the grass would be this high on the farm, and we'd have to be out there pushing it over this, and that was a lot of effort. People would have heart attacks now. So you have to take a look at the bullshit that we're all fed. You eat the proper nutrients, your body will make the fats to give you lots of energy. Now, John over there, he's doing push-ups and getting into, security and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I'm going to start doing push-ups too. So I started doing rapidly, and he says, you've got no muscle. But I've got fat in my tissues. I don't look like it, but I'm 18% body fat. That's 7 times more than most athletes. 7% more than most athletes. So think about that. The raw fats, if you're filled with raw fats for so many years, it takes 40 years to get rid of all the old fats.
How many years?
40 years.
Oh, wow.
So I've been eating raw food since 1972. I've had no cooked fats. Okay, so in 2 more years, I will be completely free of large fat molecules. When you cook a fat, it swells. The molecule swells anywhere from 1 to 50 times its normal size, depending upon the fat. Now, your coconut oil, your olive oil, those swell the least. That's why they say they're good for cooking. You take pig fat, what happens? take the rind of a pig fat, that thing will be this thing, and all of a sudden it's swelled this big. So you see these pork rinds in these packages? That was little bitty thin fat. Now it's huge fat, large fat, immense fat. So that happens when you cook fat. So I'm concentrated with all this microscopic fat in my body that utilizes and creates energy very little, very easily. So I can do massive amounts of exercise, and I don't exercise. I sit on my computer. You know, I'm not a person who has activity rings in my body, so I wasn't meant to be an active person. A lot of people have a lot of activity rings in their bodies, which tells them that they have to be high energy, high activity people. I'm not one of those, yet I can do an immense amount of exercise. When I go to Philippines and I climb the mountains, I'm winded for one day. The next day I'm up there with the 20-year-olds. And all the 30s and 40s are way, and 50s are way down the hill. And it takes me, I can get used to exercise very rapidly because I've been on the raw diet so long, eating raw fats. I imagine if I had been on, I didn't start eating raw meat on a daily basis till 82. So you can imagine what it's going to be like when I reach that 40-year period for having been on the diet eating raw meat on a daily basis for 40 years. I'll be, who knows what I'll be able to do at that point.
What did you originally say about the hair loss?
I didn't say anything about the hair loss. I just said that the thyroid had nothing to do with hair growing or hair loss.
The person's question wasn't about hair loss?
No.
Actually, I was hypothyroid since I was 15. And it got solved somehow when I was 30-something. But I lost half of my hair.
Well, they say that low thyroid causes hair loss. Now they're saying that any kind of anything will cause hair loss. You know. But if you had a hyperthyroid, you had too much hormones in your body. So it probably made you very active. You weren't getting the proper fats in your body. Pardon? Hyper is high thyroid. You had hypo. That's just loss of fat. Not enough fat. Yeah. Now you don't have a problem with that. You have enough fat on you.
I don't know, I guess.
Yeah, it's good. Fat protect, even if it's bad fat, it's protected.
I was always chubby when I was 15.
Well, it wasn't good fat. You weren't metabolizing your fats properly.
What cooked fat?
Well, some people can digest cooked fats to a great extent, but if you lost hair, you weren't assimilating some very important fats that get to the skin.
You know, Aajonus, they also say that if you have hypothyroid, that it can be a weakness in the thyroid, or they also say that it's the Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is where your own immune system becomes autoimmune and it attacks your thyroid.
Do you know how much bullshit all that is?
Oh my
they
God,
leave up
so
all
much
of
liver
these
trauma.
intricate little scenarios and get you to believe them. And they sound so intelligent, but they have nothing to do with reality. You have to understand, these scientists get paid a lot of money to come up with bullshit for the pharmaceutical industry to make money.
On the 40-year cycle of detoxifying the fat in the body, is there a way to speed that up, like the hot tubbing or something like that?
Yeah. Hot tubbing is the only way you can do it. Speed it up. However, you can get it to come out too fast, and your lymph system will not be able to handle some very toxic stuff. So you have to control. You've got a lot of fat on you, so no problem. If somebody who's slender, you know, too slender, even you're a little bit too slender, you start having, way too slender. I know you're much heavier than you've ever been. If you had seen her when I saw her 15 years ago, you know, it was like a
Twiggy.
Twiggy. Yeah, Twiggy. So you can't do intense baths like I have people doing intense baths, you know, hour and a half a day, 110 degrees for 3 months. But these people have enough fat on them to handle it. And it works. Pardon? then you're going to have poisons come out of your body that don't have the fat to stop them from damaging your cells.
You recommend going up to 110 at times?
Yeah, only because I've had a few people experiment going that high. Even somebody, well, the first one that did it was a mistake.
You?
No, he was 67 years old when I asked him to start doing it. And I said, go by in the book for the temperature and have that pineapple mixture that I said to get in the book for lymphatic baths. And, but have an hour and a half, 2 days a week. And he didn't hear the 2.
Do it every day.
2 days a week. So he called me 3 months after that. He lives in Bangkok. And he said, I still have no energy on the couch. He's retired. A couch potato. All I do is watch TV, eat, take the hot baths, and sleep. And he said, it's been 3 months I've been doing these hot baths. I said, well, maybe you need to increase the number, from 2 to 3. He said, wait a minute, I do them every day. So he was doing 90-minute baths every day. He was doing 90-minute baths every day at 110 degrees. And I said, oh my God. I said, it says in the book 101. He said, no, it doesn't. So I looked in the book, there was a typo. The 101 came out to 110.
Oh my God.
But I said, okay, stop doing it. I was afraid that he had lots of damage done and everything. And guess what? 3 weeks later, he had so much energy, he started an international stem cell company. And he's running 3 of them now, and he's 74 years old. I was with him 3 months ago in Bangkok. I stay at his condo when I'm there with he and his wife. And he works side by side with me 14, 16 hours a day.
So that's the divergence going up to 110 or something?
Pardon?
That's the divergence of going from 105 to 110.
Oh, it is. To make a big difference, and it did for him. I mean, it's phenomenal.
So what was the prep before the bath?
It's in the book under lymphatic baths.
Can a regular bath do the same thing? Or
No. Regular bath isn't hot enough.
There's a length factor though, right?
Pardon?
There's a length factor on the bath. After like an hour and a half, it's the max you can deal with some kind of other damage to the red blood cells or something?
No, you just won't move for the rest of the day.
Does the body have to be completely submerged the whole time? Because,
No, you're not going to be able to get it completely submerged. But, if you...
Also, like, I've used as hot as I can in my regular bathtub, but it's not 110 degrees. Right?
Well, you can certainly get it to 110 degrees. You take a thermometer and you put it in and find out.
Set that the hot water heater on really high. Is that it?
Yeah. And then what I used to do when I didn't have a hot tub, I'd fill scalding hot water, about probably 150 degrees to the, not scalding hot, but hot enough to burn the tissue. To halfway in the tub, I'd let it sit for 10 minutes to heat up the entire tub. Then I would put lukewarm water in it and then fill it up. Because if you heat the tub first, it's going to take longer to cool the water. So it'll take 20 minutes to cool the water.
So how do you get the hot water?
Yeah, you just turn up the hot water heater, and you only turn on the hot water.
Well, you live in an apartment building. You can't do it. It's going to connect the other person up above you. They're connected.
Not usually. Your apartment building is the old type apartment building. You've got a hot water heater for each one. Unless
no, we don't have an each one. Everyone is on one heater.
Oh, they changed it over? Okay. Well, then go there and turn it on hotter. And just leave a message at everybody's door. The hot water is hotter.
Okay, we'll scald them.
And, then what I do is after 20 minutes, if we get down to about 103, 102, then I would let 2 inches of the water out. And when I got down to the last half inch, I would turn on only the hot water. I'd tunnel the cold water to go right down the spout with my hands. As soon as it got hot, I'd release it and then put the plug in and then move the water around. Then you got to let it get real. Put the 2 inches back in, scalding hot water again. And then I would stay in there another 20 minutes before I had to do it again. Now that I have a hot tub, it's Same temperature all the time. So easy that way.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we got to move on. We're going to get very late here. Ibrahim, do you have a question?
After 10.5 years, I was able to master my diet, and I've been 100% or 99% the way you asked me to do it. I do about 3 pounds of butter a week, 1 pound of sour cream, 10 eggs a day. And how long will it take for my stomach to become flat?
Well, after
40 years.
Your eyes, probably 30 years.
Oh, I will have this one.
Yeah, I was that size for, 30 years.
30.
Now I'm trim. I just can't get much bigger. I can still get up to a 27-inch waist. I can't get up to the 36-inch waist. I can't get up to 38 like I used to. But I have to really work hard at it now. I have to sit down and eat cheese and honey and butter till it's coming out my ears to gain enough weight now. But I don't need it like I used to. All the fat in my body is pretty clean fat. So it takes a while. Most women, if they're relatively clean and they haven't had cesarean, take 12 to 15 years. If they're under 40 years old. If they're over 40, it can take 20, 22, 23 years. Men, for some reason, take longer, and my theory is women have more fat in the first place. They got 25 to 30% fat. Men have anywhere from 7 to 18% fat. It's not enough fat to protect them. So they need more fat longer than most women do.
So we're not going to see any difference as we go along? Do we have to wait 20 years to see a difference?
You're going to go in and out of detoxification. Yeah. You're going to feel different. You're going to look better. Your skin's going to look better. Everything. It's just a gradual thing. It's like if you take a bottle of let's say, something very toxic, antifreeze. It's in a glass bottle, and you break it in your house. And it eats into your linoleum floor, and it eats into your lower part of the cabinets, and it eats into the wood in your dining table and your chairs. How long is it going to take you to clean that up? You're eventually going to have to tear up the linoleum. That's another job. You're going to have to either remake or sand down the legs of the wooden table. It takes time. Your body is made of live cells. It's not mechanical like a floor and furniture. So it's got to relive itself. And each offspring gives some of that toxicity to their offspring for 5 generations on an optimal diet, according to Howell and Pottinger's work with animals. It takes 5 generations to become optimal from being sick. And for us, 5 generations of cells, 7 to 7.5 years per each cycle, each generation, to replace every cell in the bones, 40 years.
Biblical.
40 years. So think about that. You have to be patient. I still have 12 years to go. And I'm very happy. I'm 63 years old, and I can do just about anything. I got poisoned terribly a year ago, April, and I recovered from it almost completely.
What was the poison?
I was abducted in the Philippines and given 3 injections of some kind of poison. It was right after I was the first one to go on the international airwaves and talk about the swine flu and how it was a hoax in '76 because I was involved in it then. And I told them where to go to get the research. There was a rap group in England that picked up on that. They made a video called Just Say No to the Vaccine, and they've got my voice in there several times saying the only way you can get swine flu is it's injected. So I screwed up their $8 trillion business because everybody in the world picked up on that. So they came after me to teach me a lesson. They were going to try to do it subdued so I would know about it. and they came in my hotel room when I was asleep, and they intoxicated me and injected me. I just happened to wake up. My body was strong enough. I woke up. Here's these two American-looking, or Caucasian men above me, and very stout-looking, like CIA guys. They were a little bit buffier than most. Not like James Bond, but buffier guys, like Dolph Lundgren, somebody like that. And when I woke, I had a hypodermic hanging from this arm, and two on the bed right next to me. And I had this cloth that was down on my chin. Obviously, it had come off, and they pulled it right back over my face, and I was out in a moment. It was odorless. They have an anesthetic that's odorless. So it put me out. When I woke in the morning, I just thought it was a bad dream until I started to move, and I was sore and achy in every joint and muscle. I was nauseous. I started vomiting, and there were 3 holes in my arms, swelling just like vaccine. So I think that they gave me the swine flu vaccine, and we're going to catch me at one airport because I'm always flying. I'm like at an airport 2 days a week. So they can keep track of where I go, if I use credit cards or anything like that. You're going to stop me at an airport and say, see, this guy's sick, we're going to pull him aside, he's got swine flu. But I caught them, and I knew what to do about it. So I couldn't find shark, but I found the stingray. The stingray is very high in ammonia. Shark and stingray will elevate 2 times every 24 hours in ammonia. And ammonia can arrest and detoxify those kind of chemicals. So I was vomiting and having headaches and dizzy spells, passing out for about a week. And then it started coming out. Within 24 hours it started, I had just scars all over. I got like bullet hole scars. It was coming out like this, all over, all from that, all over. Yeah. So I got these, mostly on this leg, but I got them on this leg, got them on my back and shoulders. And you can still see the gray, the aluminum and the mercury. I had shavings taken, aluminum and mercury. And I had my hair analyzed I had it analyzed, luckily, a month and a half before that happened. And I guess it was 6 months after. And the elevation of everything that's in vaccine was high in that analysis. But I pulled through. I didn't know I was going to pull through. I didn't tell anybody about it, so I knew I was pretty much through. So.
What nutrients did you eat from the stingray?
I ate the meat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, eat the meat of it.
Raw?
Yeah, of course.
Is that part of like a jellyfish?
Pardon?
Stingrays are like jellyfish?
No. It's a flat animal with a tail.
Wow.
You can look it up. Okay. Yes. Question.
Oh.
By drinking raw dairy and cheeses and so on, I recovered from a click that I had
in your hip?
My hip, and it took me about 7 years, a lot of milk. And recently I've been recovering from deteriorating discs in my spine. I had to get in traction, a lot of heavy traction, and now I'm starting to recover. Good. And I'm wondering what nutrition might help the recovery.
Speed it up. Cheese, honey, and butter after 30 minutes, 35 minutes after a meat meal. And you have to eat a lot of it.
Cheese, honey, and butter.
Yeah, so if you want to speed it up to that, anybody who's got osteoporosis, you have at least, about 2 ounces of cheese. And that's a lot of cheese at one time. And you have half that amount of butter with it, and 1/6 that amount of honey. So you'd have like 1 tablespoon of honey for 1 ounce of butter, 2 ounces of cheese.
1/6.
Pardon?
1/6.
1/6.
1/6. So it's 1 tablespoon of honey.
So that would be twice a day if you had 2 meat meals a day.
Pardon?
That would be twice a day if you had 2 meat meals a day.
That's it. Well, for his condition, I would say yes. If you just have osteoporosis overall, you could do that concentration, but with your weight, it will cause massive amount of weight quickly. So it will cause massive amount. So I would say do it once a day if you're going to do that. But he could do it twice daily if he wants to speed up the healing in his back. And after about 30 days, cut it down to once a day. After 30 days, cut it down to once daily. Pardon? Proportion, 2 ounces of cheese, 1 ounce of butter, 1 tablespoon of honey. Okay? You can make it into a cheesecake. That's the way cheesecake, well, usually a cheesecake is equal amount of cheese to butter. But you just make it a little different, and it's like cheesecake.
Wow. Would you ever do that honey butter thing?
Yeah.
Huh?
You can overdo anything. If the body can't assimilate it, you get so much it does. Your liver can only make so much bile a day to handle so much fat. You have a gallbladder that allows you to do massive amounts, but it's not going to hold up if you're eating too much.
So what would be the ideal?
I give it the ideals in my books.
In the book?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It says 3 ounces of honey a day. If you're eating honey alone, is about the good amount that you should have. And butter, it depends upon the individual, and I tell you how much for the size of person.
Right.
So it's all in there. Okay, you didn't get your question, did you?
Me?
Yeah, do you want a question?
I had one. You want another one?
Yeah, okay. You have a question?
I was just at your place. I was just at your place, and one of the things you said was to eat the raw butter with part of the. I can't even look at raw butter unless it's mixed with something else. I can't. It makes me nauseous.
Well, then mix it with butter. I mean honey. Mix butter with butter.
Okay, so the formula you gave me and everything, if I just, because you said add butter to the other piece of it.
Right.
Just
mix a little honey in it.
But the thing I find out about the honey is that it really does make me gain weight. Like if I
Well, you can only just put enough to taste.
It's the texture. I mean, I really can't. I can't. Now all your mixes, your drinks, you know, the lubrication and all that. That's fine. It has enough other stuff in it that I can handle the texture. But the texture of butter, I don't know what it is. And I kept saying, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it's like, no, you're not going to do it. So,
well, then just reduce the ingredients and the lubrication, the moisturizing formula.
Well, yeah. You cut down the butter in that, if you recall.
No, you don't cut. Well, if you're not going to have the butter, you know, by itself, then you're going to have to boost the butter and the moisturizing formula back up.
So just put it back basically the way it was because I can't do that.
Yep. That's what you have to do. Just be slower.
What about the goat butter? Would that be possible?
Goat, sheep butter would be the best if you can get sheep butter, but goat butter is fine.
But I mean in terms of... Okay.
I don't know. You say it's texture.
Yeah,
goat butter is going to have the same texture.
I can always eat butter on something. Like in the old days when I ate bread, I would put butter on bread, and that was fine. With the butter, I don't know what it does. I don't know. It's like, and I tried to change my psyche and meditation.
I'd say that you probably have a low bile production.
Oh.
So put a hot water bottle down near your gallbladder. It's probably not working very well.
Okay.
Just remember, the gallbladder does not make bile. The liver makes the bile and stores it. The gallbladder, all it does is deliver the bile to the intestines and stomach.
So the weight gain that I have, that I can't seem to get that 10 pounds down, it's, you know, I've changed some of the things you said to change, but the butter, I mean, I still feel like I don't know what it is. I still feel like I'm putting it on or not taking it off, and I don't know.
Well, just keep an eye on your weight and see.
Okay. And the other thing was the milk. I tried that 4 ounces, and I can't handle that much.
on my vitamins, I guess, so I switched to 2 ounces and 2 ounces.
Okay,
And
that's fine.
Okay, I mean, I guess it'll be slower.
Yeah.
But it's enough protein to get me through the night. The 2 ounces and 2 ounces, because it just...
Well, like I say, if you can't do that, then make a milkshake and then have 2 ounces or 3 ounces of the milkshake and 3 ounces of milkshake.
Oh.
Because 2 ounces of milk isn't going to give you enough protein to go 5 hours.
Okay.
Right. Okay?
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I've tried your diet 2 times, a couple of months at a time, and I have a lot of food allergies, which prevents me from both all dairy products and eggs.
Well, a lot of people say they do my diet. Are you doing it the way it says in the recipe book on page 40, 41?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But I get so much mucus from all the dairy that it's...
Yeah, but the mucus, if you're forming mucus,
it's good.
See, that doesn't cause mucus. Dairy does not cause mucus. Your body makes mucus. If you have toxicity in your lung, throat, sinuses, and in your eyes, you're going to have a lot of mucus to cleanse it.
Yeah, but all my life, certain foods I eat, I produce mucus. Even vegetables like tomatoes or...
Well, the body will use that as a detox center for some people.
Yeah, but what can I do about it? It's like...
Well, like I say, it's a good thing. Just go through it and let the body clean that first. It won't last forever.
No, I had it for 45 years.
Yeah, but you weren't on a raw diet for 45 years. Most people who have that reaction, most I've seen it last is 18 months.
And then you need to do
all of a sudden it goes down because you cleaned out these tissues enough. So then you'll only produce that kind of mucus when you go into a major detox or a dumping of a cold or a flu.
I'm still going through a lot of it.
So you just go through...
You go through cold and flu. I pray for them. I had my first 3.5-week one probably in 10 years, probably because of the injections that I was given. And I filled a bath towel, not a beach towel, but a regular bath towel of mucus every day. For 3 weeks. It was wonderful.
Because it carries out the toxins.
Carries out the toxins. So here, all that shit that was injected into me that went into my brain, because it's mainly metals in the vaccine. So all that stuff that went in my brain was in my lungs were coming out. I was coughing up and spitting out and blowing out gray mucus. We're not talking about light gray. We're talking about major gray matter, which is metal in the mucus. Yeah. If I didn't have that mucus ability to dump, I wouldn't be clean. That mucus is a good thing. Yeah.
And what about another thing that happened when I tried the diet was that my heart rate, my heart started beating after a couple of days, very, very hard, which made it impossible to sleep.
That's usually because you have very loose, heavy metals, especially mercury.
I noticed that if I eat a high-fat diet in general,
you start cleaning out, so the heart has to pump fast, so those don't settle in the heart. And if it moves the blood faster by pumping heart faster, the blood will move faster. And when it moves that fast, the only place it can store is in the intestines. And it dumps into the intestines. If you're eating cheese, it'll take it out. So you can lower that heart rate by just eating the cheese and helping pull it out of your intestine.
I ate a lot of cheese. That's why I had to stop the diet.
But you will stop. Just don't be afraid of it. It's going to hurt you.
That's not good sleep. I'll wake the whole night because the heart is...
The nerves detoxify at night. You won't be able to sleep at night. I say in my book too, you're not going to sleep between midnight and 5:30 in the morning.
What about just...
If you're detoxing your nerves, you have to sleep. 5:30 you go to sleep, you get up at 7, you get home from work, you go to sleep at 8 o'clock and get up at midnight, 1 o'clock. That's your schedule. When you have that kind of a detox.
If he's having a hard time sleeping at night, how about this cream right before he goes to bed? Just calm his nerves down.
It depends upon the individual. If he's going through a nerve detox, that isn't going to help. It's going to soothe his body, make him feel better, but that doesn't mean he can sleep. If the body sleeps during the... Pardon?
How long should something like that?
The worst I've seen it go on is for... Where is she? There you are. How long's your been going on?
Well, I've had both. I have an irregular heart rate.
Right.
So.
We call hers a dancing heart. So, and it goes off and on. But you had it.
I was on a diet for 7.5 years. So it's like I had a lot of detox. And I'm thin, I'm lean naturally, so I feel everything that happens in my body. So, I definitely can identify with I've had the pounding heart, I had the irregular heart rate. I was having it every week. Like, I would go through, it was just like there was a martial arts judo expert in my heart, just boom, 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 boom. It was awful. It was so scary. And, boom, 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 boom.
How long was it going on for?
And it would not let up for like 16 to 24 hours, and then it would just stop. It was just like, it would just be steady beat, but it was beating kind of fast. But I'd have it every 7 to 8 days, and it was so predictable, and it would happen just like that. I'd be calm, I'd be eating something, I'd be feeling happy, and all of a sudden it started doing that. And I'm like, I have a history of athleticism, so I've always prided myself on cardiovascular endurance, and so anyway, it's very, very scary. And so Ajahn helped me a lot. He said, trust your body, trust your body. Your body's trying to keep the toxins away from your heart. And so then I actually started increasing my meat. And I started doing the bath, and I started doing the clay, and I went through a period of 34 days, and I had nothing. And then I started getting constipated, so I went off of all that, and the heart thing came right back. So now I'm back figuring that piece out. But I can definitely tell you, I feel very happy, and I have a lot of energy. I'm a very loving person. I just love this diet. It has helped me in so many ways, but it has not been easy. And I've really had to go through a lot.
Any skinny person will always have a lot of trouble.
But actually,
Yeah.
And I've read on the internet that the people, when you have a high-fat diet, that can make the heart.
The heart gets to clean, the whole body gets to clean, and the heart pumps fast so the toxins don't store in the heart muscles. Because remember, the heart is 80% fat, like the liver. It's the most concentrated protein of any part of the body. The heart and the liver are always working. So with that high rate, with the low fat level, the heart can't afford to have anything store in it, because it could cause a cramp, a Charlie horse, and that's a heart attack.
Isn't it?
So when your heart's beating fast, it's beating hard for a purpose. It's not an allergy to the food that you're eating, unless it's a toxic thing that you're eating.
Now, I said the heart is because of the high fat.
Pardon?
I said the heart beats hard because of the high fat content.
No, that's a lie.
Look, I noticed if I have a lot of fat in the diet, even vegetable fat, then my heart rate is.
Yeah, because the fat causes detoxification. It's not the fat directly that's doing it. The body isn't saying, you can take a lot in a person who's clean. They can eat fats till the cows come home. I can eat them till the cows come. My heart doesn't beat like that anymore. But I had heart attacks from the age of 15 and a half to the age of 22 from my last polio vaccine. And as soon as I started eating all that fat, within probably a month, 2 months, I had no more heart attacks. But I had to deal with that increased heart rate on a daily, hourly basis. When I used to just get the cramps and the heartbeat hard, once a day, once every other day. But when I started eating all that fat, it happened every day for almost 2.5 months.
Did you say it's just...
You need to go through it. You got to trust your body. If you're eating the right foods, there's nothing on this diet that could cause an allergy that's poisonous to the body. Even if you have the worst body in the world. It has all the vitamins, all the nutrients, everything's in it that's proper for the body. Nothing can cause it. What is damaging is what's already in the body. And when it moves, it becomes toxic again. It becomes dangerous. unless there's enough fats to arrest it. People who are too thin, that's why I keep saying in my book, you've got to get fat. If you don't want symptoms, you want to reduce your symptoms to 20%, get fat. If you want to look good and you want to suffer, stay skinny. Your choice.
It's not easy to get fat.
It is.
It's extremely difficult to get
No, I know how to get you fat fast.
I was really skinny. You remember when you first saw me?
Yeah.
That's not true. In 3 months, I gained the 40. You said you need to gain 40 pounds. In 3 months on your diet, I gained 40 pounds.
But that's not because I told you exactly what to eat.
Right, and that's my puzzle is with these people. How come they're not gaining weight and I did?
Because they haven't come to me and they haven't doing the diet that I did them.
You don't try until you know. You don't know until you try.
You know, I eat like a horse. I mean, my friends are like, "Oh, you're not going to eat a machine. All you're doing is."
Well, you won't eat the butter and cheese and honey because you get constipated. So
there you are. I wish I got constipated. I have the opposite.
See, you're more fortunate.
But I still have the weight, so it's weird.
Yeah, but you don't have her kind of symptoms either.
No.
This poor girl's on the phone with me several times thinking she's going to have a heart attack.
Well, I do get the heart palpitations.
Yeah, but they're not like see, when you're skinny, every little bitty movement's like, intense. Because when you have fat, you can buffer the amount of information that goes to the brain.
I think I'll go
if you don't have it. If you don't have it, you're going to have more symptoms.
You're saying that she should live through the constipation?
Yeah, everybody can gain weight.
To handle it. What you do is you take 3 tablespoons each of coconut cream, dairy cream, and butter, 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon of honey. You mix it together in a 4-ounce jelly jar. You put it in a bowl of hot water, get it melted, and you do this all right before you go to sleep. Take a bulb syringe, you get down on all fours, you bark like a dog, you put it back there, and you insert it and give it in. You're going to feed the E. coli through the back end. You see, your body, when it's so toxic, will use up all the good fat before it gets to the bowel. By the time it gets to the bowel, the poor E. coli are getting bad, toxic fat that are being cleaned out of the body in very little good nutrients. And people who have constipation are very slow. The E. coli is starving. So you feed it from the back end directly, and those E. coli will be happy. You'll feel happier. E. coli is the main bacteria that breaks the fats down and the protein molecules into the finite form to feed the brain and the nervous system.
Is that in the book?
No. Oh, no, that's on the newsletters.
Newsletters?
In the newsletters.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because the book was rewritten in 2005. I'm learning stuff all the time, so I don't stop experimenting.
What was the recipe again, please? Coconut cream, butter, and cream. What amount?
Well, coconut cream, butter, dairy cream, 3 tablespoons of each. 1/2 to 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. That's a teaspoon of honey. Very small amount. Yes. Okay, he's got some dairy here. If somebody wants some. Okay. Steve.
So I just recently had a flu about 3 weeks ago, and it lasted for about a week.
I'm sorry. It only lasted a week.
And then, ever since then, I've had this really dry cough that seems to come from really deep within, and I don't know how to get rid of it. I eat a lot of raw eggs. I have a couple smoothies, like a
Are you having the lubrication formula every day?
Every day.
Yeah. Then I would boost it to 2.
Okay.
What happened was you probably stopped a little too quick, or you weren't eating enough milkshakes during the flu.
Okay. No, I always have 2 a day.
No, you had 2 milkshakes a day and 1 smoothie?
Yeah. Or I mean 1 booze and 2 smoothies. 1 booze.
Okay. You would, like I say in my recipe book for the cold and flu, 2 milkshakes a day, 1 smoothie.
Okay.
What kind of a smoothie is that?
That is the proper balance. So you didn't get everything cleaned out yet.
What kind of a smoothie?
And it stopped. Just remember that when you have a cold or a flu, it is the end of a long detoxification. All the stuff that's collected in your tissues is now going to dump. You're going to dump mucus. You're going to dump all kinds of things. You may vomit, diarrhea. That is the end of getting rid of a lot of stuff You could have been detoxing for a year and a half before it dumps.
What kind
If
of
you're lucky, you'll have several a year.
what kind of a smoothie are you talking about?
It's in the book. The fellow way back there, I forgot your name, I'm sorry. No question? Okay. Yes.
I live in a condo on the third floor, and 2 of our bedrooms overlook the alley in the back of the building. And then right in front of one of the bedrooms is a large wooden pole, and there was transformers in there, and the large wires run through both bedrooms and cover the transformers. And it looks like it's the last leg of transformers that carries down through all the buildings.
Well, what they do is they'll throw off electromagnetic fields for up to 20 feet.
It's probably not a very high voltage transformer. It's, as I said, the last leg of transformers. But how high that electromagnetic field?
It shouldn't get over. It shouldn't get over. I cannot sleep at 1/1 milligauss. They say it takes 3 milligauss to negatively alter the molecular structure of an animal cell.
How close or how far?
It depends upon the wiring, the equipment, how old it is, how new it is, and whether it's wired properly, and if it's grounded properly, and if it sets a good ground. So you have to get a meter. And I talked about in one of my newsletters last year. So you buy that meter and you just, well, you can get a cheaper meter. The meter that I suggest there is a tri-field meter that registers radiation, 2 levels of radiation, several levels of electromagnetic fields, of pure electrical and electromagnetic field. So there's a lot of things you can measure with it. But you can go get a cheap one for $35 in Radio Shack to register electromagnetic field. And you put it there, and I tell you, if it's high, and I would change your bedroom to somewhere else. Well, yeah, just go in the bedroom where it isn't high.
I heard. Well, because about that, I heard this necklace that you have, and it doesn't protect.
Half a gauss, that's all it reduces. Those things that go on a telephone, it reduces it by half a milligauss. Half a milligauss. If you're looking at, let's say, 12 milligauss or 7 to 12 milligauss are coming into his bed, and you leave it by half a milligauss, that's not much. Yeah,
So do those things work on the phones and the computers and all that?
Well, you have to know. You can take your meter and see how far away you have to be from your computer. If you got a desktop, you put it like 3 feet away from you.
I have a guy that knows how to go around the house and check for EMFs if anybody wants to. You can stop by and ask me.
But by the time you pay him,
No,
that's what I did.
He goes on a sliding scale.
I hired a guy to come in and do mine, so I wouldn't have to hire him again. I made him sell me his equipment before he left my house. So, so I've been using it all these years, and if I had to use it, it would have cost me thousands of dollars. Instead, it cost me $160.
I'm going to put him back on the We Want to Live site. I had, when his newsletter first came out about this, I had them available at a little bit of a discount. I'll put them back on the site. Give me a few days, and if you want one, you can order it.
Can I sell something again? For example, like put that special film on the windows to cut down on the UV. Is there anything similar?
No, there's nothing to reduce it. They say that aluminum will reduce it, so you'd have to have an aluminum sheet, I think about a half-inch thick, over that entire wall.
Lead doesn't.
Where do you get that?
I don't think lead does. It's supposed to for radiation of a radiation beam, like for a X-ray, but electromagnetic field radiation, they say it's aluminum. Now, I've seen in a radiation laboratory that does X-rays, a woman accidentally left the lead plate over the place that was to be X-rayed, and it took an almost identical X-ray, even with the lead over it. So it's rather bullshit too.
Yeah.
So they lie out their teeth to get you to do anything they want you to do. Medical profession is the most corrupt industry in the world besides politics.
Half-inch thick aluminum handles the EMF?
That's what they say. That's what people who work in the electrical field tell me.
Okay.
I haven't experimented with it to know.
Okay.
I don't have time. I'm dealing on a biological level most of the time. Okay, do you have a question?
Yes, skiing slowly.
Remedy. It depends. You could have stones. You could have. He has trouble urinating. Slow urination. It could be that your urethra wasn't like that as a child, or is it just?
No, it's just been in the last few years.
Okay.
If I don't have a shower, I get more problems. But it's like normally.
Well, it could be that you have a a bladder stone. And a bladder stone can get huge. Like I started developing a bladder stone when I was about probably 3 to 6 years old, the urologist said, because I had the biggest one in history. Literally, it was this big. My stone was this big.
From what? I mean, at 3 years old, it just comes?
No. As kidney stones, bladder stones, come from collections of minerals, cauterized minerals, that are highly magnetic, and they usually become highly magnetic from vaccines. So I got a lot of vaccines at a very young age, especially tetanus. And there are a lot of electromagnetic mercury in tetanus shots. So I started developing that stone, and usually it takes them just a few minutes to break up the stone with a laser electrical current. It took him 2 hours to break mine down. He said the entire center was mercury, a ball of mercury. And it was so hardened from being in there for 53 years. 53 years.
Tetanus shots for what?
So,
what do they have tetanus shots for?
Tetanus shots.
I know, but what do they give tetanus for?
Pardon?
If you step on a rusty nail.
I'm just saying, yeah.
Getting lockjaw from rust is the most absurd factor in the world. Rust is a fungus, yes. But you would have to have a phenomenal amount in your body, and your lymph system would not be working at all. You wouldn't have any white blood cells operating to help you. So it's almost impossible to get. If you had a large piece of rusty that was rusted pretty much through, lodged in your body, you might be able to develop it, but it's doubtful. How many cases of lockjaw and tetanus are in the world?
Not much.
You never hear because there's 1 in a million. And it's mostly from taking iron supplements as a child. Mother's taking iron supplements because the doctor says take iron supplements.
Yeah.
They're telling you to take rock, iron rock. We don't assimilate iron rock. And what's it going to do if it gets locked in the body? It's going to rust. It's going to oxidize. Those are the people that get lockjaw. It isn't from a puncture wound. But the medical profession gets a lot of people to take tetanus shots. And how many tetanus shots are given a year for that 1 out of a million?
Million.
Oh no, about 60 million in this country. 6 million tetanus shots a year. 60 million a year.
My God.
Tetanus shots are given.
From over
There were 300 million people. Think about that.
So he has
You go in an automobile accident, you go into a hospital, the first thing they give you is a tetanus shot. They don't ask you, they give it to you. You have a bicycle accident, you have a cut, you got a child goes in there, automatically get a tetanus shot. They don't ask you, they give it to you. It is standard procedure.
Is there anything you can do about that?
Oh yes, you go in there. I have a card that I carry that says I refuse all drugs and anything unless you need to put a limb back on me. You can only use a local anything. No tetanus shots, no anything else.
Where do you get that card?
I made it up, I typed it up, and I keep it.
So you said there are other things that could cause this problem besides the bladder stones?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a collection of toxic minerals in the body, and your body doesn't handle
What's
them
the
properly.
prostate? All these guys have these prostate problems.
We got giving me questions that are outside of that.
No, I don't know. But I thought that's what he was talking about. Maybe.
I know.
No, he's talking about a bladder. I mean, peeing slowly. So when you heat the body, it allows for the expansion. Now, what had happened is you may have a lot of toxins in your urethral wall, and that's swelling. And the way to do that is put a hot water bottle at night between your penis and your scrotum, and cover the area and let it cook. And then you have a hot dog. And that'll help the area relax and detoxify. Yeah. Oh, you can put relish on it. Roger, do you have a question?
Yes. Is there anything that I could eat for Paget's disease?
For what?
Paget. P-A-G-E-T-S.
Paget's disease.
Paget's disease. I'm not recalling what that is offhand.
Well, it's a bone disease, and you get it from a fall. The doctors say there's nothing they can do about it.
Well, that's because they don't know shit about health.
Well, I know, that's why I'm asking you.
Like I told you out there, you need to eat the cheese, the butter, and honey together. And that will repair any bone problem. Also, what you want to do is you've got a bone problem like that from an injury, you're not making the proper fibers to grow the bone properly. So you need pineapple 2-3 days a week. Then all you need is the honey, butter, and cheese together. Okay? All right, do you have a question?
You may have already answered it in part. For years I've been taking mega doses of magnesium in order to have bowel movements. And since being on the diet, I've stopped taking it, but I'm having problems with constipation, and I'm just none of the remedies in your books have done anything.
Then you need to feed your body in the back. You don't have true constipation. Your body's holding up the nutrients to try to get everything from it.
Yeah. And so how often should...
Because the older and longer it is, the more bacteria builds up in the fecal matter, so it holds on to it, trying to get everything it can. So you just put, every 2, 3, 7 days, depends upon your body. Your E. coli could be very happy with very little, or they may want a lot. It depends. If you've taken magnesium a long time, taking magnesium by itself, the reason you have movements is because it is highly toxic. It destabilizes calcium in the body. It causes osteoporosis terribly. So you'll shit well and lose your bones.
Magnesium does that?
Yes. Yes. So, it's a great imbalance. You need half magnesium to calcium. And if you put all this magnesium in the body, you're going to draw all this calcium out of your body. And it's going to start leaching it out of your bones.
Put the two together. It's okay.
It doesn't make any difference. It's rock. We don't eat rock. You just feed the E. coli from the back end.
What about lactose? Lactose calcium from the cow.
It's still, once it's dried, it is a rock. It's no longer food. Any dried food is then a plant food. It's not a human food. That's why the American Indians, North American Indians and Eskimo, they would take meat and they would dry it out and they would beat it into a flour and then beat it until it became a flour, and then they would mix lard with it and bake it in the sun and make these hard cakes. It's dry, good food, right? No, they knew it's absent in enzymes that would leach a lot of nutrients from the body. Half of it is only digested properly, so they would carry it only in emergencies if they couldn't get good food, couldn't hunt, and they would make a 90-pound block. They still do in northern, in Canada and all throughout Alaska. And it's called pemmican. If they don't eat it, they bury it. They do not eat it. Now all that rich food that took them so long to make, they don't eat it because it's not the quality of food that's best. Anytime you dehydrate food, it is no longer active in enzymes. Your body's going to have to rebalance and replace, not as badly as it does with cooked food, because in cooked food you create contaminants. When you dehydrate food, you lose nutrients. In cooking food, you destroy most of your nutrients, and you've got toxins, at least 32 toxins that I address in my recipe book. Okay? Do you have a question?
I have a question. I've been maybe for the last, I'm not really like into the raw diet, but I do some. And then I noticed I was being brownish. I have no symptoms of anything.
Everybody should be peeing dark orange or brown. All animals pee that color. If you're not peeing that color, you're drinking too much water.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, it's the first time that I
That's why you should see mine. All animals. You collect their urine, they're all dark. No animal except humans who drink all that water have clear pee. And then you're really toxic if you're peeing out clear, because you've diluted everything. You've diluted all of the nutrients in your blood.
Oh yeah, because it looks heavy too.
It should, that blood should be, all of that remaining fluid from the blood should be rich in nutrients. Not all water. Should be very little water in there.
So you'd be very fatigued if you were diluting everything, right?
Correct. You can get fatigue.
Chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
And about the stone, in case he has a stone, we need to find out first, right?
Yeah, what you can do, well, just put the hot water bottle under there.
Yep.
And have the formula that I have for getting rid of stones in the book.
Okay.
And the laser?
And it will just, well, he doesn't have to have that. It's probably a small stone. You know, I started so young with mine, I never knew it existed until I hit 53 years old. 10 years ago. No, I was 56 when it happened. So 7 years ago. And let me tell you, I've always had slow urine because of that, the stone. I didn't know it was a stone. Never caused me any pain. And all of a sudden at 56 years old, it started causing pain. And I was having to lift my leg like a dog to pee because it would move the stone aside so I could pee. But when it was, when it was just sitting in there, it was hitting the urethra and it started getting particles on it. It was scabbing. And that's what was causing the pain. And the pain was mainly at the end of the penis, not back under, so I didn't know what was going on. So I found a urologist that did ultrasounds and not x-rays. And he took the one look at it. He couldn't believe it. He had to do it and keep looking at it because the biggest thing he ever saw. And I was talk of the whole office. The biggest stone in history. I had it. I had the pictures too.
So the laser doesn't really harm you.
Pardon?
The laser doesn't harm you.
Well, they can't. It can cut right through your urethra. It can cause all kinds of problems. They have to be very slow and delicate with it.
Yeah, I agree.
But, the thing is that, I wasn't going to have them give me any, gas or put me out. I was going to say, give me a local. And I saw that tube was this big that they stick up your penis. This big, and you've got this little bitty hole. I said, you're putting me out. No way you're going to get that up in me without being out.
Shit.
Then you deal with that later.
Oh, I was peeing like a horse when I came out. I mean, it was my whole life. My mother used to slap me. Come on, what's taking you so long to pee? Because it would take me 3 minutes before the pee would flow, and then it would be really slow. My mother would get so frustrated when I was a little boy because, she had to wait for me to pee, and she had 3 other boys waiting, so always used to get angry and slap me sometimes, like I had a choice. So here I was, 56 years old, peeing like a horse. It was great.
What if the pee comes out white instead of the other colors? Does that mean that
so bad, or
White or clear?
white?
White, that means you're not digesting fats. So your liver isn't working properly. You're drinking too much water. Do you have a question?
Yes. Well, you've answered questions I didn't know I had. And also you've answered some that I did have. I just wanted to, I have a question, but I'd like to say something first. When I met with you 4 years ago, it was just a good start for me. You gave me so much to chew on. It's been 4 years, and one of the most significant parts of the healing process for me, and I'm about 120 degrees from where I was, has been as I've regained my health, I've also gained a lot of emotional maturity and courage, and that's very significant because we need that, especially at this time when we're being assaulted from all sides. And so, I would just encourage everybody to not be afraid. That's the main thing. And just, I've heard others talking about, the worries that they have when they have a condition. And what you're saying is just trust your body. And I do trust my body.
Well, you've got the extra weight too, so you're not going to have the symptoms like they have.
Yeah, but when I saw you at that time, I was 45 pounds lighter.
Yeah, I remember.
I developed a love affair with butter, and I'm just really grateful. Butter, honey, and cheese. That's I ask everyone. Anyway, the question I had was, you said you fly a lot, and you're flying most recently. I'm very concerned. My family wants to fly. I won't fly anymore, but they want to fly back to the Midwest. And I've heard they're going to start incorporating or implementing the backscatter x-rays. You have anything to say about that?
I take a doctor's letter with me for my patients. I write a letter for you, and it says that they have to hand check you. So it's worked every time. I've gone to the scanner. I give them the letter. They pass me around through the magnetic rather than the radiation. And they take my food and hand check that most of the time. So it doesn't have to go through the little bitty x-ray machine that looks through your carry-on luggage. But that food can pass through that one because it's pretty mild. You do not want to put any food in your check-in luggage. That is a huge x-ray that's worth about 100 doses of an x-ray.
Oh, the suitcase.
No, the luggage check-in. Hand check. I don't let my food, if my food goes through twice, because sometimes I'll go from one country to another, and I have to go through a hand check again or scanner, but that's rare that ever. It only happened to me twice. I throw the food away. I won't eat it. It goes through twice. It goes through once, I'll eat it.
So would you recommend getting rid of your luggage if you fly all the time, maybe after a couple of years?
Pardon?
Would you recommend getting rid of your luggage after a couple of years if you fly a lot?
Depends on how much metal is in it. They're using hard plastics now with not much metal in it. But yeah, let's say if there's a lot of metal in it, absolutely.
You get rid of your luggage?
Yeah, because it will build up in radiation. The metal will become radioactive. Pardon?
The cloth luggage is okay?
You've got reinforcement in it. If it's plastic reinforcement, yeah, then that's fine.
What about the personal scanner that they use just to see if you got any metal? That one, the little one. You don't go through that one either?
It's a roller rubber.
That's magnetic.
That's no big deal.
That's magnetic.
Right.
That's
Okay.
that's not radiation.
So another question: shipping stuff through UPS airmail and stuff. They
don't X-ray anything. They X-ray maybe 0.1% just to make TSA happy.
I was just thinking about Amos and all the shipping he does. Okay.
If you ship the parcel postal system, the U.S. postal system, you'll get X-rayed a lot. You ship it UPS or FedEx, it won't rarely ever happen.
You do it overnight. Do it overnight.
Priority mail will get X-ray.
Does it? Oh, priority, okay.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yes. I have a tooth that the filling came out and it broke in half. And I wanted to know, I know you mentioned about, getting injection. I don't really want to get the Novocaine. I'm wondering, could I still handle that pain? I mean, is the Novocaine really necessary?
It's never necessary. In fact, it causes hardening of the tissues, even up into the brain. And it causes one, they know this, xylocaine, she said, I've got a broken tooth, I want to have it fixed, but I don't want to have Novocaine. Do I have to have Novocaine? And I'm telling you, the damage that Novocaine and xylocaine and all of them do, they cause more tooth decay. It's injected into the gum, into the bone, and it actually causes bone damage and gum damage. Severe. And it even causes tumors. It causes mouth tumors, jaw tumors, brain tumors, all kinds of stuff. So no, you don't need it. In 1978, I had 16 amalgam fillings in my mouth. I had 8 of them removed one morning and 8 of them removed next morning. 4 hours of drilling each morning.
How did you manage?
They didn't have the water jet at the time. Water jet cools the bit so it doesn't hurt. Back in those days, there was no water jet. So I had a signal. I'd tap the dentist on the knee. I wouldn't hit his elbow because he was in there. And let me tell you, some of those were very deep and very big, and it got down to the nerve, and sometimes you'd hit the nerve and it would bleed. But you have to understand that scraping the nerve is no worse than, except for that one split second, a millisecond. It hurts. But it's the burning of the tissue that causes the swelling. You know, the burn will last for days, the pain of a burn, but a scrape will not. That's the difference. So I had to tap him every time the bit got too hot. He'd dip it in a bowl of cold ice water. And then he would go back to drilling again. That's why it took 4 hours to drill out 8 teeth. But I had no Novocaine and I had no xylocaine. I had no number whatsoever, except that I did have a little bit of marijuana that I chewed before I went in. And I chewed it and spit it out and just got a little in there because it does create a little numbness in the mouth.
So
that's what I did.
I'm getting it full because it broke and it's got the filling came out, so I have to get it full.
You're going to have the whole tooth pulled? You don't need the tooth pulled. You put a cap over it. So you can have them put a post in it, do a root canal, have them put a post in it and a cap over it. He's going to try to talk you into get some kind of a metal post to put in there so you can put a tooth on it. It's a lot more toxic. It's better to have your own tooth in your bone until your body rejects that tooth.
What do you do with it?
Because it's still your own bone attached to your own tooth bone attached to the jawbone, the mandible bone.
Did you put resin to fill in the hole, or did you put?
Well, when it's once the nerve is out, there's no flow through the tubules anymore.
You didn't fill it.
What I did was mine. I took some bone, some horn, and I carved them and let them pack calcium around it and put it in there. And then, of course, when you put the cap over the tooth, there's epoxy on it. But you've got a dead tooth. It's not going to absorb anything. There's no nerve in there to absorb the toxin.
So even though it's broken in half, I can still shave it?
Absolutely. I've had, all of these were broken out. My father hit me with a paint can. When I was 16 and broke my teeth right off at the gum line. These are caps. I used to have my teeth. These are caps over them. So you can save them.
So what material do you suggest putting in if you have to do a filling where it's not dead?
I suggest that people use porcelain inlays is the best. But if it's a facial, use the hard plastic. Okay. Let me get him first.
Oh, okay. Sometimes I'll have like a queasy stomach or a stomach ache. sometimes after having like the cheese and then the egg, and then it's time for the meat.
Cheese and egg is a hard. How much space are you leaving between?
10 minutes.
You're still having that problem after 10 minutes?
Yeah, and sometimes, usually after the egg, it'll start to get not very queasy or horrible. But I'm just wondering, like, I usually wait to eat any meat or anything because I'm figuring something's dumping. But should I wait, or should I just eat 10 minutes after the egg, or?
Well, I would go ahead and, if something's dumping very heavily, you might wait, 5 more minutes, make it 15 minutes. You've got 25 minutes to eat that meal from that time that you've taken the egg.
Yeah.
So if you waited another 10 minutes or 15 minutes and then ate the meat meal, how long does it take you to eat a meat meal?
All varies. Like sometimes I'll take half an hour. Sometimes I'll just eat it really quick.
Okay, when you eat it really quick, it's fine. If you're going to take time, then you need to take a break, have a little cheese, wait 10 minutes again.
Okay.
You don't have to have another egg, but you can just wait that 10 minutes after the cheese.
And what about some days I just have like a queasy, achy stomach and no appetite? Should I just not eat much, or should I just say now it's time to eat?
A little cheese and butter all day long to collect the poisons.
Okay, and then I don't have to...
Anytime you have nausea, toxins are dumping from the stomach lining into your stomach or your intestines, and that causes nausea. The body wants to bring it up. Now, when the nausea happens, what happens? It triggers the stomach into making hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid neutralizes a lot of poison. If you have cheese there, you don't have to manufacture, so you have to have so much nausea most of the time, and you don't have to have as much nausea. You don't have to experience as much. So the cheese will absorb it and hold on to it. And as long as you don't have honey directly with that cheese, you will not reabsorb those poisons with the nutrients in the cheese. You have to have honey with the cheese to do that, or you have to have pasteurized cheese that's already broken up, or you have to have salted cheese, and then you will reabsorb your poison. So no salt, raw cheese will die with the poisons and pass out. And when I tell you to replace your bone, your mineral levels, and get your mineral supplement, that's when you eat honey with your cheese.
Should it be salted or unsalted?
I said if it's salted, you're going to reabsorb your poison.
Oh, okay, so eat unsalted.
Just remember, salt is an explosive. It's the most, besides nuclear weapons, it's the most explosive, besides plutonium, it's the most explosive mineral we have.
Even Himalayan salt?
Even Himalaya. When you isolate sodium, one block this big, crystal this big, is worth an atomic bomb. And that's why they put iodine or potassium chloride with the salt, something like that, so it won't be explosive. But when it happens in your body, it creates all this breaking down of the food, so it helps you digest your food, not in a nice way. Plus the sodium gets released in your blood, and these explosions go off all the time. Now, normally a cell, when it eats a smorgasbord of food. I hear now that the new age glitch on it talk is, what's it called? Micronutrients or microclusters. They're calling them, I like to call them smorgasbords because I don't want to put it down on that chemical level. Yeah, it may be a nutrient cluster or whatever you want to call it. It is a smorgasbord of nutrients. It's a whole variety of nutrients, and it's 92 to 117 nutrients. Every time a cell eats, that's what it gets. When you have salt in the body, in the blood, isolated, the sodium, it explodes and breaks up these smorgasbords, and the cells end up getting a third, a fourth, or only 50% of their nutrients. So they're always malnourished. Salt is a toxic, dangerous thing. That decreases your lifespan by more than any other thing. We're supposed to be living to 150. We live 60, 70 years old on the average. Half the life we should be living. And it's mainly because of salt. People were living a long time before they got into salt. When the Jews went into Israel and started using the salt and everything, because it would harden so quickly in the desert, and they started using salt very often. The bad things started with that, and then the King and Queen of England picked it up, and they made a whole industry of salt.
So, but the bad is okay. The bad is
Whether you're not feeding, you're not ingesting it into your blood, you've got it there working, pulling stuff out. It's different. Okay.
Oh, just one last thing on mine, just to be clear on it. While I'm having the queasy, I shouldn't be eating the meat. Just wait till
you, yeah.
Okay.
Just keep eating a little bit of cheese until it stops.
Okay.
Because you may be dumping more than you've eaten.
So if I don't eat meat all day because I'm queasy, that's fine. Okay.
As long as you're eating at least eggs to get your protein and fats. Yeah, it's okay to do that once in a while, fine.
Yeah.
I've done it up to a week.
Really?
Had no meat. But by the end of the week, my brain is about gone, even though I'm having all the eggs.
Yes, on the issue of seeds, nuts, and enzyme inhibitors, you say in your recipe book that your formula will neutralize the enzyme inhibitors. I take you're talking about the phytic acid. Everything I have read and heard so far outside the book says in order to neutralize,
you have to cook it.
You have to sprout it or ferment it, as which was traditionally done. So I'm wondering just how does breaking it up in that mixture neutralize it when the other sources say you need to sprout it or change
well, you have to
chemistry that
understand
way.
the sources that are talking about neutralizing the phytic acid are vegetarians. They're not using butter. They're not using honey. Those are animal products.
I read that from the Weston Price articles. They use plenty of raw fat ingredients.
Yeah, but it does. They haven't done the test then. Because I did the test and phytic acid wasn't active. It had no activity when it came out of the bowels, and there was no problem with mineral absorption and protein utilization. So that's by experimentation. That's what I know.
Okay.
You can laboratory shit out the zoo, and what happens in a laboratory, it's like they say, the avidin in the egg white will bind with the biotin in the egg yolk, B vitamin. However, in raw eggs, I have never had that happen. I eat up to 50 raw eggs a day, and I don't have a biotin deficiency. 50 a day. And I've eaten up to that much. I don't eat that much every day, but sometimes that's what I eat. 50 eggs, no meat in that day. So when I do that, I have no biotin deficiency. I've never had a biotin deficiency, and I've eaten at least 100,000 eggs in my lifetime. Wow. Raw. So when they got this scientific bullshit going on in a laboratory, it's got nothing to do with what happens in the human body.
Okay, so empirically there was no phytic acid. That's your answer.
In the nut formula.
In the nut formula.
Yeah.
Okay.
No active.
Okay.
See, phytic acid, when they find it in a laboratory, it binds with these minerals that doesn't allow the minerals to be utilized properly. So it causes like a cluster. So that, of course, if you can't digest your minerals, you're not going to digest your fats. Not going to digest your fats, you're not going to digest your protein. So there's a whole chain reaction from it. However, what they don't look at is that when they sprout it, you have 3 other enzymes, new enzymes, that act the same way as phytic acid. So there you have 3 times the amount. What happens if you feed a bird all sprouts? It will die in a week. You can eat the seeds with all the phytic acid galore in it, and the bird won't die, but you feed them sprouts only, and the bird will die. Any animal will get sick if you only feed them sprouts. You can feed them grains all day long, and the deterioration will be slow. You feed them sprouts and their deterioration will be fast. There is such shallow thinking out there, and that's because it's intended. If you're not sick, they don't make money. Period. That's it. It's the whole name of the game. Michael, do you have a question?
If I stay up too late, the following night I can develop a headache and it'll keep me awake the entire night. And when I need most is sleep, then I can't do it because the headache keeps me awake. None of your...
I didn't hear all of that. I'm sorry.
Often when I stay up too late...
What's too late?
Night, say I stay up too late tonight.
Let's say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, what?
Usually about 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And the following night I'll try to sleep, but I'll develop a headache. And none of your remedies really seem to deal with it. It'll last probably almost till morning. And I don't know, just what I need. To sleep is what I need most.
Right.
But I can't seem to do anything with the headache.
Well, just remember, when you keep up for a long period of time, you're doing mostly detoxifying. And if you're not handling your toxins well enough, then the toxins build up. Then when you try to sleep and your body wants to go into a sleep state to do its healing, what happens is it locks the poisons away where there's the most fat, and that's the brain. So then you have swelling in the brain. So what you have to do is make sure you take care of that. If you're going to stay up late, you have to eat cheeses, you have to eat butter, something that's going to absorb the poison. It's going to pull them out of your blood so they don't get locked into the brain. Also, when you're up that long, sometimes the nerves can build up. And then when you're heavily into detoxifying the nervous system, between midnight and 5 o'clock in the morning, you've got too much going on in the brain. You can always take hot water bottles and put them on either side of your head. The headache will be worse for 10-15 minutes. But once the fissures on the skull are relaxed enough and expand, then the headache reduces by 85%. That's going after a directive. But usually my recipes in the book handle the toxicity in the blood. They do not handle it in the nervous system. So usually the toxicity is in the nervous system. When it's in the brain, like in migraines and in cluster headaches, it's in the nervous system. Those remedies don't work for the nervous system. They'll help a tiny bit. So you've got to eat a lot of cheese. You've got to eat eggs. You've got to make sure you two don't go to sleep at the time when the nervous system kicks into worse detoxification at midnight. Until you get better. Okay. It's in the, I put it in the second to last newsletter.
What? Say it again?
Yeah. Survival kit. I call it survival kit. It's for anything. The survival kit is in a newsletter about 2 or 3 newsletters ago. I don't remember. Do you have questions?
Gastritis.
Gastritis? You're too skinny. What happens a lot of times when you have gas? You have toxins that dump into the intestinal wall, and there's not enough mucus to harness them in the mucus lining. It's almost always on people who are thin, especially people who have Crohn's disease or any kind of inflammatory bowel system. They don't create mucus proper enough to protect the lining. So what happens is the poisons don't get locked into the mucus, they get into the digestive tract where the food is, then your digestive juices mix with those poisons and it creates gas. A gas that can cause severe pain, can cause diarrhea, can cause headaches. You have to eat cheese until you're relieved. You need to eat a lot of milkshakes to get your mucus producing properly. A lot of people who have very thin mucus when you look at mucus under a microscope, it looks like you're looking at a piece of fabric. It's layers and layers of woven fibers, like this. Layers and layers of them. And if you can see through it, it's not tight. Toxins, even your own digestive acids, can get through and eat at your intestinal tract, and that's the worst case of Crohn's. So what happens is when you eat the proper proteins, everything is so tight nothing can get through. You've got sometimes 80 layers of these mucus fibers protecting your intestines. Especially if you're a sick person, you should have a lot. He probably has 80. Good size. He has a lot of weight there to protect. So you can afford to manufacture a lot of that, a lot of mucus. That's another reason I like people to be that size until they get well. And I was that size for 20 years, to get well. And I still, even up to a year and a half ago, I got that big. I had a, 38-inch waist, and I'm only 5'7"3/4. I'm 190 pounds. Right now I'm 170. So that's 20 pounds more than I am now. So it helps to build good mucus. So you need lots of milkshakes. And eat cheese to help absorb the toxins so they don't create as much gas.
Okay? Do the sugars break down that grid?
Oh yes, they'll eat right into it. Processed sugars eat right into it. They eat so far in through the mucus lining. You have villi. You see them like in oceans. You've got those villi, and you see the fish and the particles going through, and then that's the way food goes through the body in the same way. And as the food touches the villi determines whether there's more hydrochloric acid or other enzymes to break the larger particles of food down so the bacteria can eat it. 80 to 90% of digestion is bacterial. Only 10 to 20% is enzymatic, digestive juices. So bacteria is your main criteria for digestion. And when you're taking antibiotics and all of that, you have to rely only upon the enzymes and digestive juices. And you don't get a tiny bit of your nutrients. People get very, very weak after having antibiotics. Your body is 99% bacteria. You take 5 days of an antibiotic, you reduce it by 1%. That's reducing 1% of the functions of your whole body. You go 2 weeks, 3%. They put my mother on, antibiotics for a year, and I didn't know about it. All of a sudden they get a call and they said, Mom's going to die, come, she'll be dead in 5 days. She stopped eating because she couldn't digest. Well, when I found out about it, I knew right away what to do. So when I got there, I fed her custards with the papaya to help the enzymes start working again, and the butter, and the honey, and the eggs. Everything very easily digestible. Fed her a half a cup of that in the morning, early morning, like at 6 o'clock in the morning. At 10 o'clock, I gave her the other half a cup. And she ate 3 meals that day, full meals. Cooked, of course, but she ate 3 meals. Fed all, she wouldn't eat but the papaya the next day, because the butter was too much for her, because of the damage from the antibiotics. So I gave her half a cup of papaya every day. She ate 3 meals a day. She recovered. She's still alive at 91. And she was supposed to die from that 5 years ago. So you see what antibiotics can do. The major part of the body is bacterial. If you buy into the pharmaceutical industry and medical industries, bacteria is the cause of disease, you have just counted yourself as a disease. Because you're 99% bacteria.
And the sugar in the papaya didn't counter what you were trying to...
That is a raw sugar, and I put it with fat. There's butter, and there's the yolk with all of its fat.
Right. Yeah.
So the sugar was harnessed.
Do you think we need to eat fruit with fat?
Oh, you have to eat it with the fat. It's in my book. In my books. Always eat fruit with fat. Always. Unless you've just eaten a big meal of fat. So we cleared your question. Yes, go ahead.
Manufacturing platelets in the blood makes blood thick.
You do not manufacture platelets in the blood. You manufacture the platelets in your bone marrow. They mature in the bone marrow and then enter the bloodstream.
And it's you've seen people look at a stroke who might be on an otherwise pretty healthy diet, but their blood gets too thick. And what would you say, like in the recommendation section, page 40, 41, the things you do each day? Well, what natural things could you throw in there that would make it work?
Well, beet juice and grapefruit.
So that would be.
But almost any fruit, any bland fruit, cucumber, zucchini juice, tomato, any of those will thin the blood.
Okay, and they all need to be concocted in one way or another with fats and...
No, tomato can be eaten alone. Cucumber can be eaten all day.
Grapefruit?
Grapefruit you need to minimize. That'll be a fast reacting one, but you don't want a lot of that.
Why tomato goes to fruit? You don't need fat. Why not?
Well, see, there's no high sugar in the tomato. It's not high in carbohydrate. And it's high in sodium, so it holds more water. So it will thin the blood. Celery juice will do it too, but that can cause other imbalances if you have too much of it. But cucumber you can eat all day. Tomato you could eat you can get too acidic from eating too many tomatoes. But you have to go on, if your mouth starts getting too raw, then you've eaten too many tomatoes. But there's some people who can eat tomatoes till the cow comes home and not get too acidic. I don't have that luxury. I have to stick with, cucumber juice, something like that, celery juice.
It's good advice, and I'll try to take it, but none of those things appeal to me. That's probably why I have a problem.
Okay. Yeah. A watermelon?
Watermelon 12 by 2.
Well, don't eat the center. Eat only from where the seeds go from the center to where the bottom of the seeds. Eat the pink from all the way down, and then the white of the watermelon. Don't eat the seeds up to the center.
Okay.
Because it's so much high in sugar.
High in sugar.
Yeah. A lot of sugar. Yeah.
The seeds are coming down.
Didn't they say watermelon has salt in it?
Sodium. Like tomatoes, it's high in sodium. Like avocados, high in sodium. I got to go around. Oh, well, here's what I sent in the book.
Okay. The seeds is where you cut it?
Is it okay to, like at night,
you cut it after the seeds?
When you're hungry?
Until you have to.
Like maybe you're in your detox hours? Is it okay to eat meat during that time?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. You can eat meat at night, in the middle of the night. I always say wake up in the night, eat something. If you go 5 hours without eating, your red blood cells eat each other for the protein. You could be 700 pounds, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't have anything to do with the fat, it's the protein level in the blood. In our toxic society, it's gone in 5 hours, so the red blood cells start eating each other. Sure shoots the shit out of vegetarianism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What about milk and all that fasting, So milk has protein in it. Milk's fine. But so I say wake up, wake during the night. You can wait 5 hours and go back to sleep for 3 hours. If you're a hyperactive person and you wake up after 5 hours and eat, you may not go back to sleep. So wake up after 3 hours, eat, and then go back to sleep for 5. Easy.
Cheese okay for 5 hours? After 5 hours? Back to bed, cheese?
Cheese won't be digested unless you can eat it with honey.
Okay.
You eat cheese and honey butter together and go back to sleep.
Okay.
And your fruit juice, not your fruit, but your vegetable juice in the immediate morning, if it happens to be on the 5 hours, that won't do it?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
You eat your cheese first, and
then the veg
if
juice.
If you're really hungry, and let's say you're not thinking well, and you've got, brain loss from protein, then put an egg in your vegetable juice.
In the
Whip
middle
it
of
in
the
your
night?
vegetable juice.
Okay. Yeah, but sometimes my veg juice meal is right at the 5 hours, and I'm thinking,
Well, put an egg in it.
okay. But by itself, it would be okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it makes you hyper. If it makes your heart beat, pound hard, and it makes you nervous, you start shaking, and it makes you high blood pressure, then you put an egg in.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
About 6 years ago, I had a arthroscopic surgery. I was perfectly healthy to that point, not on a raw diet. Minor meniscus tear, I took it out.
So you are perfectly healthy. You were good healthy
Pretty
for that.
close, pretty close. It caused an embolum to my lung.
Uh-huh.
And I was on Coumadin for about 6 months, and then all my problems started.
Absolutely.
So I started taking there was a concentrated brain functioning supplement. It was concentrated egg whites, like Flaxseed. Then I got onto your diet, did it for about 8 or 9 months. Didn't do the weight gaining program. I just maintained strictly for 8 or 9 months, your regular recipe. After that, basically, I mixed it with toxin and some Chinese herbs, and I was in good shape for a while. Then basically, not too long ago, I had chicken pox. Right before the chicken pox, but I've been suffering from chronic fatigue over the years, no matter what I tried to do. I had a blood circulation problem that occurred from the Coumadin, so it caused me to be looking for diets and special remedies and things. But eventually, I got little red spots on my skin, and then about 2 or 3 months later, I got chicken pox. And then about a month after that, I took high antiviral medication because I was in the doctor's hands in Italy. I didn't know that you're not supposed to take anything. But anyways, eventually from that, let's see, antiviral. I had back spasm. Muscle spasm in the back that caused a small curve on my spine. And for about 9 months, I've had this back spasm that's causing pain, major back pain. And I'm suffering from bloating, chronic fatigue, teeth grinding.
Well, everything you did was one injury after another.
And flu symptoms. I have high pressure.
Just remember, chicken pox is another bullshit disease. Anytime you have an eruption in the skin, it is a toxin coming through the skin. Just like they say swine flu and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with any kind of pig tissue. It doesn't have to do with any kind of animal at all. They just name it an animal tissue to make you afraid of nature. It is a composition of toxicity that chickenpox comes from vaccines coming through the skin. 90% of all toxins are supposed to leave through the skin. So you're going to have eruptions on your skin. You're going to have pox. You're going to, like these, when they came out here. If I didn't have these come out all over my body and my skin, and this was all started within 24 hours. And it took 3 months, 4 months for me to stop. These were bleeding and oozing the stuff that stunk like chemicals, metal, everything that you could think of. And it oozed and pussed for 4.5 months before it stopped. But at least I relieved a lot of it out of my body through the proper channels through the skin. But you can see what concentrated poisons can do with that. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see what it can do. So your pox was a reaction of chemicals. It could have been the Coumadin was the straw that broke the camel's back. I got too many chemicals. We've got to have a heavy detox here. Whether it's hives or rash, no matter what it is, acne, those are poisons leaving the body. It's not some chicken that caused you a problem.
Basically, right now I'm dealing with a muscle spasms that been lasting 9 months. I've got pressure behind the eyes with fever symptoms that don't allow me to concentrate very easily. I've got bloating and farting, and I'm glad she's beforehand. But basically, so I'm looking for remedies. What do I do?
Well, you got multiple problems, and I just can't talk about them all right now. But if you just want to get started, cheese and butter and honey will help you give them minerals to settle things down.
Okay.
But you've got to have clay, and milk together, a lot of things. So you better call me on that one, because I would prefer to give you a good diet rather than just, give you some remedies that you'll do it not quite right. If you want to get rid of it fast. Because I have back trouble.
What does fast mean?
Probably within 10 days, you could have it under control. That's better than waiting months.
Even though I'm not on your regular diet.
Oh, okay. Well, no, it wouldn't work that fast. But if I gave you the diet, I would be giving you my diet. So you would be doing it. Okay, let's see. Yes.
Quick question, a longer question. What is the food combination to raise your sex drive? Is it?
There are so many things. Avocado and oranges from the book. Yeah, avocado and oranges together. Some people can do pineapple and avocado together. Oysters are excellent for that. I had one model from Canada eat 128, 6 foot tall. She gained a lot of weight, so her agency hated that. So, 6 foot tall, and went up to about 260 pounds.
Oh my God.
And she ate 128 oysters, and
in one
she had a sex drive for 28 days. And her boyfriend loved it. He had to pay for that 128 oysters.
She ate it in one day?
One evening, one dinner.
One dinner?
Yeah.
Holy
I got a call. I'm
Jesus.
sitting down, I got a call, and she says, I'm already down 24 oysters. What's the limit? I said, there's no limit. You can eat as many as you want. Her boyfriend calls me. He says, she just gone through 100. You sure there isn't a limit? I said, she already went through 100? I said, let me eat as many as she wants. You'll enjoy it. He did. He didn't mind paying the $700.
In your book, in your recipe book, everything's got eggs. I am severely allergic to eggs.
Not wrong.
But I had salad dressing with raw egg white.
Yeah, but you're not. You got salt in that dressing. You've got all kinds of other crap in that dressing.
So are you saying like drink an egg, just pour it, put it in a glass and drink it?
Let me show you.
Rocky style.
Aajonus style.
You can put it in a jar. Rocky is breaking it into a glass and downing it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm all right.
So the fatter end, this one's almost perfect, even, but it isn't. This is the fatter end. So what I do is I take an eye tooth, here, which has, it's supposed to have a point on it, but the dentist decided that he wanted to drill, grind mine down. But I take it and I hit it flat. So you damage the bottom without breaking a hole in it. Otherwise you're going to have it dripping down off your hand onto the floor and everything. This end I hit down on the tooth to make the hole. Now I have a hole. Now for you, if you have trouble with eggs, you hold it down like this and you suck gently. Make sure the egg white is liquid and not slimy. Okay? Take that down first. If you suck slowly, breaking this allows that membrane in there to move up. And allows the egg white to come out without the egg yolk bobbing up. Okay? So you just keep doing this. Just getting the egg white gently. If you feel the yolk come up and stop it up, then you relax it, shake it a little like this, you free up the egg white, and then do it again.
But you're saying I'm not allergic to raw eggs.
I've never met a person allergic to raw eggs. Never.
So
then when you get to the yolk, now do you see any residue in there? Nothing, because I allowed the membrane to collapse.
What about the potential chicken shit on the outside?
Perfect. Bacteria.
You don't eat it, do you?
How many animals go around licking each other's asses to get extra bacteria? Every animal except humans. We're missing out on all that bacteria. I leave it on. In fact, when I go to the farmer, I pick out all the eggs with the shit on them.
But you eat
When I'm
it.
in Asia, they don't clean their eggs there, and I'll go pick out the one that has the most shit on it.
But you don't eat this shit on the outside.
Where I poke it, I'm eating the shit.
Oh,
really? Absolutely. Okay, your question. Oh, you did. That's right. You started with you. Oh, hi, Barbara.
Oh, go ahead.
You're the host. We don't get the host. Go ahead. Oh, yes. We want to thank the hosts, Jim and Barbara.
I have gained weight, and I was diagnosed with cancer, much worse than anything you've got, I'm sure. And having gained all that weight, I have actually very few symptoms. I have symptoms, but nothing like heart pounding and the stuff you're talking about. So there is something to weight gain, just from a personal point of view.
And she has cancer of the spine, so that's
Bone cancer in the spine,
severe.
the spinal column, which the medical community considers me a corpse long ago. So I just wanted to say that one thing. But anyway, I have many symptoms, but they're not scary as all get out. One of them is I seem to be coughing a lot during the night, and I'm wondering, is it just straight detox, or is there something in my room? Or I can't even tell. My intuition fails me at this point.
I wouldn't know unless I went into your room and took a look. But usually when you have a spinal problem, you're going to detox through the lungs.
Okay.
You just need to make sure you're making enough, your body's producing enough mucus
I've
so it doesn't damage the lungs.
2 milkshakes during the night.
Okay, good.
What's in the milkshake? What do you put in the
Milkshake recipes are in the book.
Okay.
It's there. I've got quite a few milkshake recipes, but it's just egg, milk, cream, and honey.
If you have the
I have a question.
Elaine, you haven't done Elena.
Elena.
How do you pronounce it?
Elena.
Elena. Okay. You haven't had a question?
Not yet.
Okay.
Can you talk about the etiology?
Pretty ladies before you.
Can you talk about the etiology of
Well, I can't hear you.
Ecology of what?
tetracycline?
Tetracycline.
I can't hear the question.
She asked about the
etiology of
etiology of tetracycline.
What does etiology mean?
The makeup of it, how they make it. How to get rid of it. Well, tetracycline is a fungus they use as an antibiotic. It is very similar to gangrene. And you get rid of it with lime juice, and you do the same with any kind of fungus in the body. You use, depending upon the size of the person, about 3 tablespoons of lime juice, 3 tablespoons of honey, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and you blend that all together, and then you put that in, you pour that into 3, depending upon the size of the person, this is for her. So 3 ounces of sparkling mineral water, 3.5 ounces of sparkling mineral water. Do not pour the water into the mixture, the mixture goes into the water. It's going to foam up a bit, so you want a little larger jar to accompany it. And you sip that over a 15-20 minute period. Don't guzzle it because it's going to rush to the kidneys. You've got to get it into the system, and that'll stop any kind of too heavy bacterial detoxification, fungal detoxification, and destroy penicillin penicillin is a bird disease, and it's a bird cleanser. Remember, these are not really diseases. Penicillin in its natural form is a fungus that birds use to help break down substances that have accumulated in their body if they're somewhat toxic and they've been too active. Let's say when they're flying 3,000 miles, changing climates. In that exercise of doing that, they'll build up with the excess carbohydrates from grains. If they're eating mainly seeds along the way and not eating many bugs or animal products. And the birds who don't are vegetarians, they'll build up a lot of that accumulation on a trip like that. They need the penicillin to help break that substance down, and it's a good thing. When they give it to us, they've sterilized it. They've damaged the fungus so it no longer knows when to go into hibernation. All funguses will have cycles. They'll go in and out of hibernation. Cycle maybe 9 months, 6 months to 9 months on, 3 to 6 months off, depending upon the need in the body. Since we eat grain products, we've eaten all these cooked grain products, we are full of stuff that penicillin lives on and thrives on. So once penicillin gets into your body, it works 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, the whole time you're alive, unless you've been on the primal diet for 40 years. I still have penicillin in my brain. Those are the only spots that I have left in my body besides the prostate gland.
How do you know?
Some metallic minerals and toxicity from the irises. So I've still got penicillin working in my brain because I haven't detoxed my brain yet altogether. So I've got 2 major spots in my brain. A fourth of my brain is still feeding, is feeding the penicillin. I don't want to stop it. I'm healthy enough, I don't need to stop it. I don't need to slow it down. But I find that in a lot of people's digestive tracts or in their nervous systems where it needs to be tempered, I need to slow it down. So that's the formula I give them.
How long and how often do you do that?
2 or 3 days a week only. 2 days a week only. 2 days a week only.
For how long?
Because it will destroy good bacteria too if you have it too much.
So, days, weeks, months? Or?
I would have to, look in your eyes and tell.
But at least do it for a few weeks? Or?
Oh, I would do it for probably 3 months.
Okay.
No more than 3 months.
You had 3?
Well, for her, I gave hers, which was 3 tablespoons of lime juice, 1 lemon, 3 tablespoons of honey, and then I forgot also. I know, I forgot. Also, 2 tablespoons of coconut cream and 1 tablespoon of dairy cream. Now that is so frickin' delicious, do not drink it fast. You still got to drink it slowly. Okay? So 1-2 days a week. It works. Without that much honey, it won't work as well.
No kidding.
That's the same one you gave me for the floor detox, the linoleum.
Can't stop you.
Yeah. No, I know. That was for the linoleum. It was the mango, the kiwi, and that mixture.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Different.
So you just have to force her to her weight if you're going to do it yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
I had gained 20 pounds, in 2 months.
You needed it.
Yeah.
Okay, did I get everyone?
I didn't get a question.
Yes, you did.
Hold on a second. There's some people that came late. If you haven't paid, please give it to Burton here.
What are your fees?
$30. What are
your fees?
Email me and I'll send them to you. Okay, optimal@earthlink.net.
What do you think of the...
Pardon?
You had a question, I didn't have one.
If everybody talks, I can't hear what's going on.
We still got people without.
Go ahead.
The milk, that raw milk fiasco with all foods, but I can buy it from some other places. I buy the Flaxseed milk. Now, when I buy milk from the Rosa, I leave it out for a day, so 7-8 hours,
Right.
it goes sour. I still like it and drink it and fine. But this flour milk, I noticed it stays there for 2 days and still doesn't go sour.
Well, they don't. They
Is it
feed.
good or bad?
It's a feed that's not a good, healthy feed. I mean, it's a regular dairy feed that they're giving you.
They don't play any games on it. Pasteurizing maybe or doing something.
No, they don't do anything like that. But they do use, they put heavy chlorine in their tanks to clean them. You know, very heavy to keep them, because they have to keep cauliflower form down to 10. So there's chlorine in it that's higher than normal.
Organic pastures.
Organic pastures have to do the same. They're worse now since that law went in. So when you get it at Rawson, we're getting it from Pennsylvania and Amish farm. Perfect, yeah. It's the only one I drink, yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. You know, I'm going to help you back here because I'm going to help adjust you. So just give me a few minutes. All right? There was some, you did John?
I'm writing on me.
Kathy, hold on. John, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the subject of massage. Is it a necessity or a luxury? And what is its role in optimum health?
Well, massage is always helps people get healthier quicker. Some people have to have very gentle massages if they have a lymphatic problem. So it's got to be like a tickle massage. But massage will always help you get well quicker because it moves things around. If you're going through a heavy detoxification of flu or cold, it's not a good idea to have a massage because then you'll get too many things moving, and you already have enough movement.
Okay, and what's its role in terms of muscle development, bodybuilding, that kind of stuff?
It depends upon the individual, but if they want to build muscle faster, of course, if they can make sure that everything's flowing through better with massage, that's always more helpful.
Okay, so it's like a circulation thing.
Right.
And
it can also help the body relax. It can also get tight knots and congestions and help move them through. Now, a lot of massage therapists will try to break those and work hard to do it. They need to be gently moved because you can break substances. You can cause cutting or laceration. So when most people, I may be different because I've been on this diet so long. I don't have all the lumps and everything that other people have. So I can handle a hard massage, although I don't like hard massages. But other people need things worked out of them gently.
Okay.
Now the problem with most massage therapists is they have a technique. Once they learn the technique's in their head, and their sense what they had when they first started massaging, it was a feel thing. They felt in the body. They were in tune with how much pressure was needed. And then when they learn all these fucking techniques, their finesse with the body is gone. So that you have to find a massage therapist who can keep in touch with the feel and not just think about, the routines and the activities, the style of massage.
Can you skip massage, or is that non-replaceable in some functions?
Well, massage can always be helpful, except when you're already too much into a detoxification. Hands-on touch can be a massage. When you're very sick, that's helped me many times when I couldn't be touched, as far as massage. If somebody was just holding my feet, or holding my shoulders or just touching my neck was enough massage to give a change for my body. So massage is always helpful. Just depends on what kind you need at the time. So I've always used massage therapy. I used to have to go to chiropractor sometimes twice a day when my back was in so much pain when I had cancer. And the cauterized spine was the main problem there from the radiation therapy. So I don't think it's necessary to go to chiropractors unless you need to do it. Because you can always do yoga and stretch yourself out and that's what I learned to do. But you can't massage yourself and relax at the same time. So that's why you need somebody else to help you. So I've always gotten massages. I get at least one massage a week. And they're very helpful. Pardon?
You do light massage mostly then?
Yes, I like light massage mostly.
You're just saying anything that's heavy damages the limb system too much?
Yeah, it can crack the limb. Let's say you have hardened veins, you have varicose veins, you have any kind of damage. Hard massage can break and cause internal bleeding. You can bleed lymph, you can bleed neurological fluids, you can bleed blood all throughout your tissues, and it will cause more toxicity. So you have to know what your body is. You have to know the system. Awful. They're not real. They're not real enzymes. You have to build your own digestive enzymes. So have pineapple, have papaya, have things that naturally are concentrated that will help you build natural enzymes.
Even hydrochloric acid.
Hydrochloric acid is highly toxic. It's not a biological hydrochloric acid. So you increase beet juice, you increase pineapple to build and corn on the cob, raw corn on the cob. Those will help you build hydrochloric acid. Wait a minute, she's my last question. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, you said about the mercury from vaccines. What can you start on to get rid of some of the mercury? I mean, you could stay there.
You got clay, you got...
what should I do with the clay?
I
have clay with my juice. I have half a teaspoon. I have the clay in the morning.
You can do it that way. If you're very thin or smaller, you don't want clay in it. I mean, you don't want clay in a juice. It's better to have it in milk.
So
you need more calcium.
The water clay, it has to be wet.
Always have moist clay. Never have dry clay in anything.
So you take it.
You make the clay first in a jar until it's like plaster of Paris, and then take it from there. If it's 5 days old, it's best. It can last up to 2 years without turning black, and even that mold can be helpful.
Could you take it with your milkshake?
No. You take it with milk, and you can take it with juice.
I take it with juice every morning.
Okay, well you have the weight. You're okay.
Half a teaspoon with juice every morning.
But if you're on the slimmer side, you have, on the slimmer side, you have the clay with milk, and not juice, and not water, nothing like
Do you
that.
need the clay mixture for the bath as well when it says a quarter of a cup?
Pardon?
When your formula for the bath is a quarter cup of clay, is that also the mixture of clay?
No, that could be just the powder. I'm talking about ingesting. Ingesting,
You're
yes.
supposed to put clay in the bath? You never said that.
It's in the book?
2 recipes in the book.
Oh, but I just use milk, vinegar, sea salt, the Himalayan salt, and coconut cream.
Coconut cream. That's fine. It's fine. That combination will work. For people who don't have the salt or they don't have the vinegar, then they have to use the clay.
How many? Wet clay.
No, you can use dry clay for that.
2
For a
tablespoons
bath.
of that.
Well, I'd use about 3
of dry.
in place of the vinegar. So what else? What was it you asked me now?
The mercury.
The mercury. Oh, oysters are the quickest way to get rid of mercury.
From vaccines.
Eating 6 a day, 3 at a time, 3 with each meal. Eat them 6 days a week. The best results I've had is eating 3 twice daily, 6 days a week for a year.
3 twice daily.
Okay, there we have it, folks. We did it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
When are you going to start training people to do what you do?
it depends on. I'm having trouble with the Thai government. I've already got the land. I got the first house, my house, built 10 days ago. 10 days ago. And they stopped me. I got the lake half dug, and they stopped me from finishing that. They're saying that most of my land is forest, It belongs to because I'm at the foot of a national forest of a mountain. So they're telling me now that I can't. The people who sold it to me said I could do all this. And I should have gone to the forestry department to check first. So I have to see what they're going to allow me to do. So I don't know. But if my investor comes through, it would probably be the earliest 3 years. Because I have to get crops and I have to get animals. Everything's set, so I've got the exact foods that I need to have people come to the clinic.
like a college there then.
Well, it'll be a clinic college.
I got you. Cool.
Where is this?
This will be in Thailand.
Oh, not in the Philippines. You're not working.
No, that's my personal place, my getaway.
Aren't they having political problems there right now?
That's what I heard.
But that's in Bangkok.
Where would you
Only
be?
Bangkok. I'm 12 hours drive from Bangkok, far away from Bangkok. I'm out in the Tules where there's no electricity.
Which is how you like it.
Exactly. No road.
How do you get there?
I had to grade a road in. I had to
Really?
make a mile road to get that there. Philippines, I had to do a mile road there
Are you
too.
still going to be able to work on stem cells because you once mentioned?
I'm never going to do that.
Not you, somebody else. You could get somebody.
Yeah, there's somebody on the diet I talked about earlier, did all those hot baths.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still working with it.
Guys, I thought we're done.
Okay, that's it, folks. Thank you very much.
Do you have recording? Is there a way I can email you?
Yeah.